Spurlie Mac first!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 60th episode of the Juggernaut Bolt Action Podcast. As ever, production is top quality. Don't worry about it. It will never get better. I'm not going to lie, because I don't get paid for this. But I'll hand over to our illustrious host. You can either have Topher 1 in the pink, Topher 2 in the blue, or Topher 3 in the grey. I might put it out to a poll. We'll see what everybody wants.
Why am I Topher 2? I'm the original.
You're the original. How do I know that? That is exactly what a clone would say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Alex, you're not due to be Topher 1 yet. You're close. Don't get me wrong. You're definitely a Topher 2.
That room I've booked, that's actually for you, because I'm going home to your house in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, at least someone will treat my wife right. You know what I mean? Yeah. She's been begging for years, and I ain't doing it. So,
right. To be fair, if you take her up the Childwood Arms, there's plenty of lorry drivers that'd see to her. But you know.
Can I be Pete too?
You can be Pete. You've got the hair for Pete, Matt.
Yeah, you can be American Pete.
Yeah, American Pete. Are you good at formulating devil's advocate arguments and forming a wall and an argument for no reason and defending it to the death?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No, that's not. Then you can't be Pete. I'm really sorry. Anyway,
I'll be Chappie 3.
Anyway, episode 60 of the Juggernaut Bolt Action Podcast. We're doing something a little bit different this episode. We are going to go through an idiot's guide to the WTC, and I am joined by some illustrious, attendees of this WTC just gone? Plus Spurlie. Are you an attendee?
I was there.
He was there.
I was an attendee, but I wasn't a combatant. You know.
You're not competent. No, I agree.
Definitely not.
There was a couple of times I would say TO and I would see Spurlie and he would see me wait for TO and he would go and get a real TO.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's exactly what he needed.
Yeah. No, when it came to your tables, it was like, especially like towards the end of Sunday when you were playing like Spain or Spain.
Don't know what you're talking about.
I definitely didn't want to be the one that went, you're talking rubbish.
He's professionally saying, Alex, that he didn't want to deal with our shit, which is fair enough. It's fair enough.
Yeah,
if you think of it like football, I'm championship.
Not
I'm not Premier League.
I'm
a championship level referee at best.
You're Sunday League. Come on,
mate. I'm setting up VAR for us. Come on.
Okay. Right. Anyway, you know me and Spurlie. Womble, you was on last episode. Alex, you've been on episodes before. You're just trying to be me. Matt, who the fuck are you if you're not P?
My name is Matt. Matthew Rank. I am the captain of USA 2.
Yeah.
And this past year was my second WTC. With mostly half of us were returning, but a couple other lads. On USA 2, so
they
lots of experience to share.
We've got to say USA 2, very good showing at the WTC, 5th place.
Super proud of the guy.
Yeah,
yep.
I might even drop some stats about.
No! You got to say this.
Not all the stats.
In the next episode.
Not all the stats. Just
a tease. Just little.
Yeah, a couple of teasy stats for that are relevant to our guests on the podcast. So, not right away, but I will say there is one table that he does top. Matt ranks as top of a table.
This is. You know how you said this is going to be brilliant production values? I can hear my kids screaming in the upstairs, and I've got to go and sort them. And normally, this is something I edit out, but this is live, and this is my idea. So you guys finish off the intro. I'll be right back.
Oh, great! This is like when a host walks out on a radio show, and the producers sat there, no idea what to do. We can't. No dead air. We can't let it go silent.
So this came about, didn't it? So to give an idea, this came about because in the bus on the way home, We were like, people will be the first time to go. We know that it's in the UK next year. The UK will mean that there's an extra England team. And it's like, there will be, and we want there to be, more newer people coming to WTC. And so then the conversation started, which was, what did, particularly, I was a newbie, what did I learn, or what do I think I would pass on?
Yeah.
And then I started jotting down some notes. It went out to all of the England players, who then threw in a huge number of additional pieces of stuff, information, ideas, concepts, and everything else. And we wrote it all down. How very organised and sensible of us. And so we came up with an idea, which was, so you want to go to the WTC, what should you know? And then we invited Matt along, because it's like, actually, it's not just a purely an England thing, it's get another side of it, because although we came from the UK to Grenada, it was coming all the way from the US, there's a whole other series of challenges and things which are relevant as well. So that's how it came about. Topher has turned it all into a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And I think to credit, I think you guys have probably a lot of listeners over in the States. And we would love, John Ross and I kind of banged the drum this year and got as many as we could, but I can see us having 4 USA. We had three USA teams this year, which was the most we've ever had. I can very easily see us being able to put together 4 for next year.
The thing we quickly noticed, although we were compiling all of our feedback from this event, it quickly became, actually, this is relevant to anyone going to any event. Like we've seen this afternoon, someone saying, as a newbie, what should I make sure I take so I don't look like a new guy? And this document is like, it's that kind of perfect thing for anyone at any level. Where can I slot in? Whether you're traveling across the States or intercontinental, it's all applicable to anyone.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely stealing that document. I thought it was brilliant.
We did think, like, when we was writing it, like, how open do we want to be with this? Because kind of, it's on one hand, it's kind of giving away the secret sauce, right? Like, what do Team England do to it together? But then at the same time, as people said, it's useful to a lot of people, and especially if there's brand new people come to the WTC, especially if they're paying a lot of money to get flights, it'll be good to kind of get a, at least from our perspective, what we expect. Of course, your mileage might vary, and I guess that's why we got you with Matt on, so you can be like, well, in America, we're like this, so, yeah. Shall we crack on?
I think so.
Crack on.
Good. Crack on. Also, listeners, if the police ask why where I was when I murdered my kids last night, I was here the whole time, right?
Yeah. I'll cut out that bit where you disappear.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, everyone in the chat, in the comments, you too. Yeah, hi Felix, hi Joe. Yeah.
Is this where you say there were three Tophs on here? It could have been any one of us.
Could have been anyone. Anyone could have murdered their kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're wanting the PowerPoint now, yeah? We want in the PowerPoint.
Go on, crack on. Oh no, can I do a transition first? Can I do a transition?
Transition.
I've put some new transitions on. I got so excited with the boys back in town last episode. I'm decided I'm going to do specific transitions for each episode now. Now this one, because we've got Matt on, I've made him a very special one. You ready?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
I must note, you're looking very ZZ Top these days, Matt.
Thank you for that.
So that is now your theme tune. I hope you can go home and enjoy and share the love.
Yeah.
The other one I get a lot is there's a YouTube guy on YouTube channel called Forgotten Weapons where he reviews all these firearms. I get him a lot.
Yeah.
Which is very flattering. That guy's he's a sharp guy.
Sharp dressed man. There we go. So, you have been invited to the WTC, the Idiot's Guide to Team England. Have you guys already mentioned how this PowerPoint is wordy as fuck?
We haven't got to that point yet. We were just doing how it came to be.
Okay, wicked. So this is obviously a guide that we've written, and the idea is that you will take this home and you will read it. So of course, when we present it as a PowerPoint, it's going to be wordy as fuck. It's not the sort of thing we'll sit there. We're not going to sit there and read it to you. You can read it yourself. We're just going to use each page like a jumping off point for an extra conversation. If that makes sense. So if you're looking at this at home, you're like, why is there so many words? That's a shit PowerPoint. I agree. It's not what it's for. We'll make a link. We'll upload it with download links into the show notes and the doobly-doo. There you go.
It's
And
predominantly
you
a padlock.
first
just
point
for
around
one.
the thing, aren't you? That's what everyone does. It's like, it's whatever, it's going to be here.
I'm going to do my John Green. It's in the doobly-doo. There you go.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
doobly-doo.
So it's always there, yeah.
Yeah. So
Go on then, next page, Spurlie.
Oh.
Okay, so come on, Owen. Do you want to start saying all that? This is, you
Well, that's
wrote
kind of what we did.
you wrote the intro, yeah?
It was, I mean, this is a bit when you were killing your kids. We covered, basically, it's how it was put together, why it was put together. And yes, that whilst this was predominantly or originally set with WTC in mind, 95% of it applied to any event, particularly one of the more competitive events you've been to. And it is very much a joint England team thing. I don't think almost everybody chipped in one way or another with some bits. So it isn't just, although kind of my name's on some of it because I typed quite a lot of it, but the rest of it is very much Team England. This is Team England.
Pretty much.
So, and I think I'm the idiot. I think it's an idiot's guide.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. Anyway, Spurlie,
Right.
go.
Yeah.
Go.
Philosophy.
So philosophy. So like I made a bit of a starting point to kind of set out the tone, right, of what the meaning on the England team means, and the basic tone is it is a team, not an individual, right, and that's and sometimes people will do well at events and people will do badly at events. You know, I had a bad event this year. Alex, you didn't have the best event this year, etc. But the point is it doesn't matter, and that as a team, first and foremost, you need to work together as a team and not slag each other off.
I've got to say one thing.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that Take That and Westlife were there, and yet we've got photos of them. You know, it's...
Yeah. Well, it's funny, in the team section, I made sure to add pictures of the team, but I will say, Owen, what the fuck are you doing on the right-hand side in your picture there?
He is
What is that pose all about?
He is mincing his way.
I've got the hip bag, haven't I?
He has got his hip bag on.
And I do think we need to kick Luke off the England one team because he has too much hair.
Too much hair.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you what.
I did like
too much hair, not enough facial. You know what I mean?
It's very much Jeff in the Team England see, though, isn't it? It's like everyone else got their matching tops on.
Yeah, I was going to say it starts with England 1, who are very profesh. They're all like uniforms, standing. You got England 2, who are a bit. They still got their forms on, but they're still a bit more. Yeah, and then you got England 3, who's like.
Yeah, Owen there, looking like an old Stephen Gately, if I do say so myself. That's Westlife in the middle there, but
yeah. I'll tell that.
See, Owen's turned up in a Juggernaut. He doesn't even realise it's an England team. And fucking Phil's just happy to be there, and he's just woken up. He's like, yeah, wicked, I'm here.
Phil, I don't know what Phil was doing.
I love Phil. Phil's a legend.
I think
he had a great weekend.
And I think one of the bits you pick up on that bit as well is that it isn't just people's gaming that can affect it. You can be ill, particularly if you're overseas, different food and everything else. One of your players might be ill, and you might have to carry them, or they might have to carry you if they're still there. And it's like, you know what? Just be kind to them.
If anything,
very famously last year, 2 members of USA 1 indulged in the seafood at the buffet the night before day 2, and both John Ross, who's the country rep for USA, and his teammate Evan were both in an awful state. Like yesterday, they actually, I think John talked about it on a podcast earlier this week, but they actually approached Dave Nolan and said, "Listen, we may have to withdraw because neither one of us is in any shape to play today." And Dave was like, "Well, I don't really have anyone else to fill in, so good luck." And they powered through it. You know, they made it through the day, but man, they were in rough shape.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I'm looking at Topher here.
Yeah.
Was an absolute champion, suffering the same side effects.
I got never seen someone managed it.
You'd have thought he'd have learned from others' mistakes last year about not touching seafood on the Saturday night. And
look, when the tapas gets delivered to the table, man, you eat the tapas.
Yeah, who ordered the squid though? It was
Luke.
The bloody
Luke,
squid?
we made a grave mistake, and Alex was there. He can confirm, and that we were all sat around the table and all went, "Fuck it, Luke, you're cultured. You order it, mate."
You let the child order.
I'm surprised you didn't.
have bowls of Haribo and marshmallows turning up at the table.
When I come to power, when I'm Emperor of the World, I'm going to make it a law that you need at least pubes of at least 1 inch long before you're allowed to order food at a table.
He started off well. We had a salad with ice cream, and at that point, he had won in my books. Whatever else he ordered, yeah,
I just kind of put out that we've got one slide of philosophy, and we're already going off about just actually.
Next slide, Spurlie. Next slide.
It's a huge amount of fun just being away with your mates, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, the next
There we
slide
go. Disappointing your teams due to subpar performance.
Part of being at WTC is disappointing your teammates.
This is a point that I really need to make. Right, is that it's when you feel that you've let your team down is the worst feeling you can possibly have. And I know that from experience. I can assume that other people who have also feel that. And as I say, it's a really hard pill to swallow, right? But you need to make sure that you remember it's a team event, right? Regardless, there's no individual scores here. It is the team. So even if you mess up your round, but the team still goes through, that is fine, yeah? And if you do well, but your team member screws up, and therefore you lose the round, you all lose the round, right? It's not about you going, oh, well, I fucking did it, you didn't do your bit, right? It's a team effort. We need to make sure we're treating it like that, right? And we're lifting each other up.
And I think the for me, the biggest manifestation of that was the last game where we needed to win to get the team 3 wins, which is more than what we'd hoped for. And I'd seen Liam's opponents just take handfuls of troops off as they were hit by heavy howitzers where he had. But I don't know, but it's when you step out and 2 of your teammates have already finished and they're there, it's completely deadpan, and you step out and they're looking at you and you put your thumbs up and you smile and you go, yeah, fucking clickety clock, motherfucker. And you know that you've got 3 wins, and actually the team has now got the 3 wins for the event because you've now won it. That is something you do not get in singles. That feeling of walking out of the event hall towards your mates and they're like, what? And you're like, give them the thumbs up and they're like, yes, get in there. That was the moment for me that I realised WTC is different. It's different from anything else.
Absolutely.
Also, one of you is going to have to face, you're facing 4 different lists, and because of the way the format works, every list is going to have 1 or 2 lists that are probably a little scarier than others. Every once in a while, you're going to run into that bear, and you're going to be, and it's okay. You understand that, okay, this is my battle, but I'm dealing with this adversary so that my teammates don't have to. My teammates might have more favorable matches along the line.
I had a couple of rounds this year where I was playing Chinese, and 2 out of my 6 games I'm against Bamboo Spearhorde, and my instant thought was, shit, they do the game I'm playing, but better.
Yeah.
So I'm playing for the draw, because I know my team, if I play for the draw, and I get it as close as possible, they're going to have favourable matchups, and I don't mind that, because it's a team game, so I don't have to worry, I don't have to win every single game. And I can recognise that this is, it helps, but this is not a game that we would expect these lists to perform, it's an easy win. It's an easy win. Mine was designed to fight against. Easy. Wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
Stewart's, any day. Give me 150 guys to chew through. Can't do that so well because they do it better.
I guess that's one of the problems with just the randomness. You can't. You can build a list for specific things, but there's no element
even when you had the matchup system, though, you would try to get it in your favour.
Oh yeah, no, but
it was still.
You've got
It was the illusion of control.
Yeah. There is a percentage that you can control it. So it's not 50%, but you've still got
20.
Yeah, you've still it still came down to it. And at one point in the old matchup system, you knew that you had a list that you were picking. Granted, not out of all 4 of your opponents, but you were picking what that was going to fight. Yeah. So when it's random, it is what it is.
I mean, of all the lists, pretty much lists I saw at WTC, John of USA 1 was one I would have chosen not to go up against because it was the complete opposite of mine. And yet, I did lose, but at least I managed to keep the loss relatively small. And I think that was hard fought. But yeah, it happens. But as you say, you have to try. If you're going to lose small.
Yeah.
That's
Next slide, Spurlie.
Next
Go,
slide.
Matt.
Next slide.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was going to say, it also affects your list building where you're like, well, I'm really, the way I currently have my list, I'm really bad into Gurkhas. But, like, there's only a 1 in 4 chance that you're going to have to face Gurkhas, assuming that everyone has one.
Don't say that, Matt. Don't say that.
Yeah.
I said that to Toph ahead of Game
I've got
6. I said
3.
it's only a 1 in 4 chance that you will play against Gurkhas in Spain one again.
I took those odds and I prevailed regardless. It's okay. But anyway, the final slide about the philosophy. Anyway, it's just the final to round it all up. The WTC is relentless. You will not find a harder tournament. Full stop. In terms of how much of an impact it has on your health, your body, your mental state, it is a full-on weekend. Because you'll be shattered, you'll be knackered, you'll be eating dodgy food, you'll be coming out of both ends, and you'll be playing some of the best
you'll be
players in the
both
world.
ends?
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
I might not. I might play next year, mate.
Exactly. So it is. So the final point: stick together as a team. Yeah, because that's what it comes down to. Because you can sit there in your home GTs in your home country and be the dog's bollocks. Yeah, but when you've travelled across the world, all bets are off. So stick together. That said, mad banter skills. I have to drop the line. Doesn't mean I can't say Luke is shit because he relies on rolling sixes. You know what I mean? He's my team member. I can say that. But if someone else says that, fuck them. He's my boy. Don't shit on him. Even though he can't even roll sixes properly.
It's almost equivalent of the teammates like the NHS. We can flag it off, but anybody else has a go at it. We will fight to the death.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it. Yeah.
We can slag it off, but as soon as Matt says something, then we will absolutely lay into their health insurance system and not being able to afford basic healthcare.
I'm a democratic socialist, so you're not going to have me flagging off your
The next one is something we actually talked about a bit on the last podcast about the good things that the TOs did about setting their authority. But they are God. You do not, under any circumstances, argue the toss with the TO.
Don't jump ahead. We've got a slide for that.
You're so far ahead, Owen.
Right. Anyway, on to the event. First one, you will be looked after.
Yeah.
Especially now there's enough people who've been to the WTC before now that if you come to the WTC, you won't just be chucked in unless you're a brand new country, in which case if you're coming from Slovakia and you're the first Slovakia team, A, wicked, thanks for coming, B, you're on your own, I'm sorry.
No,
but for
they will be looked after. Let's be honest. They'll be looked after because everyone will go, they're the new guys, come with us.
Yeah.
We've got Richard, he will show you a good night out. And we'll leave it there.
Yeah, so you will be looked after. You won't be left on your own. You'll be paired with people who have done it before, so that they can show you the ropes and stuff. And make friends. The fact that we're sitting here and we got Matt on. I only met Matt at the WTC. He's a WTC friend, and yet it's a special bond that you can only get through whatever you want to call it, trial by fire. I don't know what you'd call it, Matt. You know what I mean?
WTC friends.
Yeah. It was as big a motivator for me to get the team together this year was because I was like, well, shit, all those guys are going to be there again.
Yeah.
And we had such a good time last year, and we got our asses kicked last year. But I was like, I wanted to go back because I know that we were stronger this year than we were last year. So I wrote the bolt action player in me says, I need to go back. We need to throw down again and get another opportunity at this. But also it's like, we're going to go to, that crappy McDonald's for lunch, and we're going to, go out and to burn a Topher and, get tapas together and all those.
Spurlie, next slide. There's a picture of to burn a Topher. I just need to make sure the listener understands.
Why has it gone back?
What are you doing?
I have no idea. I've not even pressed any buttons, and it's not the right place.
Go back,
I'm at the one I can see to burn the Topher.
We're not for are we?
There you go. I had my own restaurant. It gave me food poisoning. Probably it was good shit. Yeah, you can go another slide now. I've done that slide now.
Owen, back to where we were earlier.
It finished that one on Bants last time. I was like, we're jumping ahead, but we didn't. Yeah, basically, TO's God. Do not fuck with the TO.
I left a picture on this slide of our TO on the bottom right there, so you can see him in all of his glory doing whatever the fuck that is, an Instagram pose in Alhambra. Yes, he has no culture. That is disgusting.
Oh, we had a great time in Alhambra.
He is your lord and saviour. Especially now in new WTC. I think it was different in old WTC, but since like Dan and Pete and Spurlie have taken over, it definitely has a vibe of don't fuck with the TO. I don't know if you guys felt that with the US teams, Matt, but we definitely did. It was like an authoritarian.
It was. I mean, it's the eternal battle, right? And it's something that we definitely see here in the States, I think, where it's really hard to find good events for us because all the people that really want the events are the highly engaged competitive players. And so it's like, well, we're happy running them, but we're begging for somebody from the outside to come in and run them. So you get this really, there's a lack of balance between the good competitive players that are running these events that understand the rules and understand their path, and then people that are running it for the love of the game that might have a more fast and loose understanding of the game. And I know that last year and this year, I think the defining moments for the tournaments were the fact that, well, if you can't trust Dan Lane to run a tournament, then who can you trust? Like we were very excited that Dan and Pete and
other leg.
Me,
that guy right there.
Me.
that took over and made that was one less thing that we had to worry about this year. We were super excited about it. And like one of the the captain of Team 3, Marco Barbo, insists on calling Dan Sir at every opportunity.
Oh, he did.
That was so funny.
Brilliant. Yeah. Dan loved it. Because he likes the respect. Let's be honest. I think he must get called Sir by his kids as well. You know, it just feels like that's what happens.
Yeah.
And the thing there is that you can really affect your team. If you get a red card, you fuck your team over.
Yeah.
I think the way Dan approached it is how every TO should, in my book. It's my event. That's it. We don't argue. Like I've been to a couple of events and had the TO say, "Look, we will not be having arguments," and Dan set that out. But it was also balanced that as captains in the run-up, both Dan, Pete, and I'm guessing Spurlie behind the scenes were working really hard that we could ask any question. And I don't know if Matt noticed, but the answers came out pretty quick. You didn't have to wait more than half a day.
Yeah,
I'd say
in
most cases
we were quite good at in the captain's chat. If a question went in, either myself or Pete would see it within a couple of minutes of it going on. So then we'd screen grab it out of there, drop it in. We had our own little WhatsApp just between us as TOs. Drop it in there, and it was either bang, there's the answer. Dan had it back within like 10-15 minutes. Sometimes it took a bit longer because even as TOs, we have different interpretations of some of the rules. So we need to make sure that we're all going to be singing on the same hymn sheet, and that actually what we're actually putting on there is right. Because the last thing we want to do is put something out there, and then it gets to it, and somebody goes, "Well, in the rule book, it says this quite clearly here," and we just go, "Oh, well, we screwed that then, didn't we?"
I think for the takeaway for new people is treat them like rugby referees, not football referees.
Yes.
We may laugh at the yes sir, no sir, but in all honesty, if that's what it takes, so you don't land your team in hot trouble with yellow and red cards that affect your performance. I am
the Nigel Owens.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah, I'm Nigel Owens. Yeah.
I think it's something that actually we probably didn't pick up on so much. It's not necessarily is that your captain isn't just in name only. It's an actual full-on role as part of the event, and a lot of it in the lead-up to the event. So, you as a newbie would almost certainly not necessarily be expected to be the captain, but the captain comes with significant additional responsibilities over and above just a normal player.
More often than not, the captains have been there, done that before, and they're also, if you have got, use the captains for little rules queries. Like things to do with cover, you're not going to be able to ask your captain about because your captain's going to say, whatever you want him to say, and your opponent's captain's going to say whatever your opponent wants him to say. But little rules queries like, what's a 3 on the damage table? Because everybody has that brain fart sometimes. I have it most times. But they'll tell you, and it saves you waiting for a TO, because we're 99% of the time already dealing with something else, or we're enjoying a nice ice cream. We just don't want to deal with you. But you use your captains, because they tend to also be potentially the best player on the team, because that's why they're in that position.
We were lucky because 4 of our 6 matches were on the first 3 tables, like closest to the window.
Yeah.
So we always had you or Pete, like right within like arm shot. I was like, please, just help. Even for simple stuff, because something you'll probably talk about a little bit later, but like time's important, and the length of the matches is one of the hardest things to manage from an external standpoint. And so I'd have my teammates saying, hey, we've got an issue with line of sight or cover. Something's going on here. And I'm in the middle of trying to like make a decision. And I'm like, listen, don't spend 30 seconds arguing it.
Yeah.
Pete's right there. Pete's going to come over and he's going to settle it in 10 seconds, and you're done and you're moving on. And that's having those like, prompt resolutions to any conflicts is as important to getting, correct resolutions. Yeah. Just be fast. Even if you're wrong.
I actually made the most of that this year. Anytime it was questionable, have they got cover? Have I got line of sight? How many people does this template hit? Can I clip this unit? Instantly, hand up, TO over, get them to double check. Because as soon as we both didn't agree, I'm like, let's not waste any time. And I would actually, the way WTC runs it, as captains, we sit in the middle 2 tables, so you can kind of see your team really well. Anytime I notice the guys either side of me having that, I'm like, let's save them time, call the TO over, have a look at them. And I'll know, like, I'm effectively passively keeping my teams rolling as well. So they're having nice, smooth games. And because very quickly you can go from, can I hit this, can I hit that? You have an argument, then you start double checking, go around the tables. Before you know it, you've wasted 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of that comes from, it's not even that one person is right or wrong about the rules. Like we learned in the last round, like my Spanish opponent, they always played it in such a way that if you trace line of sight over like a tank, for example, that they consider the tanks, the Z-axis on the tank, to be kind of indefinite. So they wouldn't even, if you trace line of sight over something like that, they're like, no, you can't see.
That's a tall tank, that is.
And that was just their interpretation. And, it was way easier to say, I'm like, I can see you. He's like, well, you can't because of this, and he wasn't trying to get one over on me by any stretch of the imagination. That was, just clearly just an interpretation that he had learned at club or something of that nature. And Dan solved it in 3 seconds.
That's always like on another Spanish table, they were playing it completely the opposite, where it wasn't a tank, it was a wreck, but they would say, oh, well, it doesn't block line of sight. So, well, kind of does, because if you can't see through it, it's definitely blocking your line of sight.
I'm going to move us forward, because this is a lot of shit that's going to come up again. Anyway,
we've got
loads to go. Yeah, come to football. Go on, Owen. This is your time to shine.
Well, you will be stood up for 9 to 10 hours on the hard floor, and for 2 days, and you've probably walked through airports and travelled and been in hotels and everything else. Your feet and ankles are going to hurt unless you happen to be a long distance walker or something. They're going to hurt. Do not wear something that you are not prepared to spend several days in with barely moving. The other one that's linked to that again is back care. Particularly if you're taller, if you're leaning over tables for several days, it's gonna hurt. So have your eye boot.
Yeah, Alex can confirm this. How much shit did my wash bag have in it when we was in the hotel room? Just drugs and
12 tubes of Voltarol.
But guess what? I kept gaming. I kept going. My back went halfway through. It was like the morning of Saturday, and you heard it go.
We were playing terrain on table, and I just saw Toe's face go, oh, that's my back.
I took a little Pilates spiky ball with me, so that if I had like got a muscle in spasm, because it's going to hurt, if you're not used to it. The other thing that we put in there is don't be afraid, particularly the captains are on the inner tables, which means generally you're on an end table. Right? Do not be afraid to go to the other side of the table if for whatever reason you find your entire army in their half of the table.
Yeah.
Walk round, don't lean over, be kind to yourself. Know that you're going to have to do this for 2 days.
I have one of my teammates is 6'9". Like, he was an absolute warrior all weekend, and that's got to be. Imagine how hard it is for your average person to lean over a table.
When I found out that I was going to WTC, I started swimming 2 or 3 times a week, to as much as anything else to make sure my back was strong enough, because I didn't want to suffer from like getting to day 5 or day 6 and just not being fit for it. Because I'm pushing on in years. I was like, I need to make sure at least I'm as fit as I can be, make the most of it.
The rest of your team would be so disappointed in you, Womble. That was not in the memo.
We got a bit of that later. Know your team.
Go on, next slide, Spurlie.
Yeah, there it goes.
Here we go. I don't remember what's up next.
I think throat. You need to cover throat, Spurlie, just from dealing with Dan's throat. Bless him. Over the course of the weekend.
Yeah, Dan's throat got worse and worse. But he was non-stop talking.
You're going to be shouting and screaming and talking bollocks all weekend. That's not just during the games in the pub at night. It's going to be full on.
You'll
Get ready for that.
You'll probably talk twice as much, because chances are you're not playing against somebody whose first language is English, unless you're playing Wales or Scotland or Ireland if they come over.
Even if you play our beloved cousins from across the Atlantic. Yeah. Fucking hell, man. Oh my god, hey buddy, how are you doing? You're going to talk so much through that game because they're going to be so happy. Yeah. It's like, Jesus, I just want to play some bolt action.
If you go to your local event, you can at least spend 3/4 of the game not saying a word. Whereas WTC, the best thing to do as well is you tell your opponent what you're doing step by step. You're constantly talking, constantly telling them, because then hopefully there's no problems, because they know what you're trying to do. You've told them what you're trying to do. Yeah. And then if you have to call a TO over, you actually both agree on what's happening rather than this is what's happening, and then the other guy going, no, that's what you were doing. So talking.
Hydration, drink water, please, everyone. Yeah. I got through 10 litres over the course of 2 days.
If between games you're probably not having to go to the loo, you're not drinking enough water.
Yeah. I think I had a litre bottle on me, and I got through at least one every game.
Yeah, that's why I got through a litre of water a game, and I wasn't even playing. So it shows you the importance of drinking.
Only because you're going to be doing a lot of drinking alcohol style, and you don't want to be that person who passes out of sunstroke because you're a fucking idiot. Think of you letting your team down. Yeah. And also, you need your brain to work so you can win your games. Make sure it's got what it needs. Drink some water. If you're a bit of a pussy, put some orange squash in it, whatever, I don't care. Be that guy. If you need some fucking, if you need a Kool-Aid man to run through the wall for you to drink any water, whatever, do it. But just make sure you're drinking water.
I would say avoid fizzy as well. So Lucasade Sports is a good one. The kind of stuff just to keep you going. Sometimes you drink a bottle of Coke and you're just like.
And obviously linked to that is snacks, bananas or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
You probably won't have been eating properly. Just keep your brain food up.
But I added the point. Make sure you share as well. If some dickhead brings minstrels, someone brings minstrels, or Haribo, or Maltesers, or whatever American shite you call chocolate, and you don't share some with me, you are not my friend and you are not my fellow DJ.
Yeah.
Warning has been made. You share shit with your team.
Nobody wants any my banana though.
No, I don't want your banana. I've got Alex's banana for that. Yeah. Oh god. Next slide.
There we are.
Timeliness. Come on, Alex. This is one for you, surely. as captain and chief whipper.
See, we were really good, and I think as an event, Bolt Action players got compliments from the TO team. Dan was really happy to see that we were all there ahead of time. And I know, I remember there was a round John Ross. It wasn't John Ross, it was Felix who was standing in for them. His team wasn't there, and the stress that he was under as an individual, because round pairings are up, and I could tell him what table he was on, but he didn't have a team. So you have to be really aware of where you need to be when you need to be there. Because as an individual, you don't want to be rushing around, sorting out things at the last minute. Where's my army? Have I sorted it out? Just know when you need to be at your table, know how long you've got for your break, so you're not rushing and running around like a headless chicken. And that comes right from the start of the day. I know a certain Welsh player who won't be named got phoned 4 times in his room to say, you were drinking last night, but the first round starts in 20 minutes, you need to be down here. You being late affects your whole team. It's a team event, like we've mentioned before.
It's the famous story as well about the Irish team, in 2023, who had to knock down a hotel door to get their team member who'd passed out in bed. And you know what?
I think I had their hotel room this year because
the
lock was completely like someone had taken an axe to the inside.
Ours looked like that as well. Ours looked like somebody in the past. Somebody had broken into our room. There was no doubt about it.
This is the thing though, right? Everyone thinks about the Irish team in 2023 and go, oh, they got drunk, wasn't it funny? Yeah, but they're not remembering them for their results. They're remembering them because they got pissed and fucked themselves over, right? Yeah. So when I know I did this last year when I was captain, I know Alex did this year. The round might not start till 8:30, 9 o'clock, but we are there up having breakfast at 7. Because you need to get up and get yourself going. Yeah. So that because the last thing you want to be is rolling out of bed at 8:20 and then starting your first game at 8:30 because your brain hasn't switched on yet. You're still kind of booting up. You're still kind of going, whoa, and you got to start discussing listen, terrain and shit. Just no, you're not here to have a lie-in. You're here to play a tournament.
Timing is one of those things that you can control.
Yeah.
It's something that's entirely within your remit to control. Dice aren't, what your opponent does, what tables you're on, none of that's in your control. When you get up, if you've eaten breakfast, how you prepare for the day are all things that are entirely within your control. And take advantage of that.
Also, nothing feels better than sitting when you're where you're supposed to be, your opponent's across from you, and you can handle. I mean, there's logistics and there's bureaucracy that has to happen before all of your matchups, which we'll talk about later. But getting that out of the way and still and the clock hasn't started yet. You can take a deep breath. You've got your your display board next to you. You're ready to go, and you can just take a deep breath and not worry that, we've got all of this going on and the clock's ticking and this is out and where's my fourth teammate? It gets you in a much better headspace for the match that's coming up as well.
It does also give you that breathing room that, Sunday, Toph was in. We got up in the morning, had our breakfast. Toph said, I need to go. That's fine. We organised to come back down. We maybe 45 minutes before our we were start to due. We sat in the hotel lobby. We had our list for that game. I'd taken a picture of the table so we could go back and just have a look at it. In the end, I think we spent about 20 minutes sat almost in silence, aside from Rich, who for some reason was not drunk, which is weird. He's the opposite of himself. But just having that 20 minutes that we could actually do what we wanted to do. I'd got all our lists and stuff, but in the end, actually just having 20 minutes to sit quietly.
It felt like Rich was taking the WTC seriously, which is it's just not what I'm used to from him. It's not how I see him at events.
Speaking of Rich, let's talk about the teams. Next slide, please. Segue. Boom.
Ooh.
Let's go. Know your team.
The bottom picture there, that is the conference of Tophers. If you actually have a look, you'll see there's about 7 or 8 Tophs in that picture. There's different varieties of flavours.
I am the original. That's all we need to know.
I think this is absolutely key, isn't it? I think it's what is your team expecting to do? I was very glad to be in Team England C. We'd very much gone with the attitude of we're just there to make up numbers and have fun, blow shit up, and have a really good time with our mates. In the end, we did really well, actually, and but we weren't Team A, and we were quite conscious of that. And from a personal level, there were a couple of games I'm a very aggressive player, and I win big and I lose big. And I don't think, had I been on better teams, or supposedly, some of my losses, I would have had to have curved back. I'd have had to have played differently. I would have felt I needed to play differently. So I think it's really, really important that you just have the same goals of any team.
We actually started this. Now, this is very much an England thing. We started this discussion ahead of WTC 2023 when we were taking two teams. And I remember saying our goal should always be, like, when we have quite a condensed team or all quite similar attitudes, that the first team is going to try and win the event. The second team, I want their goal to beat the first team. Screw anything else. Their goal is to try and screw over the other English players, because that way we're pushing each other. Now, this year with the third team, Team 3, definitely the attitude was we're there to have fun, experience it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's about setting those goals well in advance of even going to the event.
And I think it's important to say it's completely okay, even though this is the WTC and it's the title is World Team Championships. You know, when I would mention to people, yeah, I'm going to the World Championships. You know, the people that didn't understand like tabletop wargaming even would be like, oh, there's some gravitas to that. But it's completely okay to show up to this event to have a good time. And to show up and say, you know what, we're not necessarily going to challenge for the event, but we're going to try to play well. And like last year, my goal was I wanted the people that we played against over the course of the weekend to step away and says, you know, those blokes from USA 2, they were some good guys, and we had some really good fun games with them. And I think we accomplished that last year. And this year, we wanted to be more competitive. You know, we returned to it. We had a better idea of what we needed to do to execute that. But like, I don't want someone to be scared away from the prospect of playing in this because they think, well, I'm not necessarily, you know, a world-class player. You know, I listen to the Juggernauts. I'm not at their level competitively.
Whoa. World-class players listen to the Juggernauts. Come on.
You're above average.
I am not above average, mate. You ask my missus, she will tell you I am not above average. So,
she tells me that all the time. That's good. It's not above average.
Yeah.
Go.
No, my point.
Okay. I think the main thing is you need to establish when you're in the team forming stage with your country is what sort of team you are on. And if you're the sort of person who the idea of getting up at 7 a.m. and reviewing lists before an event sounds boring and shit, maybe don't go on the team that's trying to win the whole thing, because that's what it takes. Yeah. You're at a proper event. There's good people here. You need to focus properly. If you just want to come, get pissed and roll dice, fucking smash it, mate. Be my guest. But it's probably worth going on one of the teams that are less inclined to try and win. Is that a more diplomatic way of saying it?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I was very glad that I wasn't spending my mornings reviewing the list of the team that we were about to come up against.
Yeah.
That wasn't why I was there.
I was just about to say, I don't think England 3 got this memo, because, you know, your third team, if you think about it, first team, they're number one. Yeah. Second team, they're pushing number ones. Yeah. Third team, that is actually your pub crawl team. And England 3 were not the pub crawl team this year.
They were
the pub crawl team, but they were not performing like a pub crawl team.
I was going to say, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it like eat, like drink and blow shit up was your mantra?
It was drink and blow shit up. It was, and I think, and it was one of those things is that, one of our teammates, our team captain, had a KV2. I mean, that's just glorious in so many ways at WTC.
I can also confirm he did not blow any shit up. He did not blow any shit up with his KV2.
He surprisingly didn't. But no, that was the thing. And that's not to say that we didn't have some half decent lists actually, but it was a case of we're there and we didn't do a lot of the prep that I think that said, 3 of us went to Mincemeat and got the 6 games in there, and I went and did some other ones at Aldershot. So it's not like we didn't put the games in. It was just a case of we just weren't.
It's an attitude.
We weren't there to win it.
You had some tasty lists, and I think if you guys have actually put not that you didn't put effort in, but if you'd have actually so you did put effort in because you had to get the results that they were getting.
If you pulled your finger out,
the full on homework, putting the hours in when you don't have to. England 3 actually, would have.
I think we actually covered some of this, and we covered some of this in one of the other bits about ability and fishing ponds and stuff. So,
okay, let's have a look. Two slides forwards, please, Spurlie. 2 slides forward.
Yeah. So more.
I want to get on to play events.
Oh, do we host events, Toph?
This is the thing, right? I don't know. I don't know if you get this, Matt, but I definitely get loads of people coming and going, Toph, I want to join the WTC. I want to come and compete next year. And in the nicest way possible I can possibly make it, I say, great, who are you? And that's not from from me just being like, oh, I'm only going to bring my mates here. But the people who compete at the competitive level at boxing in the England at the very least go to all the same events, and people become known because that's how they practice and how they get good. If you've never been to an event in the UK, how am I supposed to know what your level is, right? And that's also the way of how you actually get good, is by going to events and playing and losing and learning and coming back and being better. And a lot of people online will have preconceived ideas of what competition is, right? And fucking tournaments is full of whackers, blah, 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 blah. If you know us, I think I know you lot, that's not the case. Sure, there's the odd whacker, but for the most part, we're all pretty reasonable people. We're all here for the same reason and stuff. Yeah. And if you're going to get, pay money to get on a plane to fly to another country to play at the WTC, the highest level of competitive player is, play some events, man. Work your way up. You don't start at the Olympics. You work your way up. So I kind of can't stress that enough. Really, go and play events. You know what I mean?
An extra point in there that's a bit left field is a lot of people will say, I don't want to put myself forward to the WTC because I'm not good enough. Again, get yourself to events and you might actually find, I am. Actually, I do all right at these events. Maybe I am good enough. Maybe you don't play competitively. You might like it. You play historically. Get going. Phil from England B runs another podcast. He's a very historically focused player. Up until the Welsh Nationals last year, he was very much not interested. Came along, was like, actually, this competitive malarkey is actually a whole load of fun. And all the players there, I know them. We get on really well. Maybe this is something I want to do. And he has a good time at competitive, enjoys the historical side as well. But dip your toes in, give it a try.
When I first reached out to John Ross about playing 2 years ago, one of the first things he asked me, he was like, well, have you played in any big tournaments, in the US? Have you played at Adepticon? Have you played at Historicon? Have you played at the LVO and things like that? And, send me a copy of a list as if you were going to go to one of these events. And he wasn't doing it because he's like, oh, it's he didn't have this agenda. He's only going to take these elite players and the best possible players.
Yeah.
He just wanted to make sure that I kind of knew what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
Because the danger is if you haven't played in a lot of events, it's not that you're going to get your ass kicked, because you might play in a lot of events and still get your ass kicked. It's that you might just have a really bad time if you're not prepared for that sort of engagement and the level of play there is. And at the end of the day, look, we have some unique challenges in the United States. I think we feel that the players we brought the best players that were both interested and that we were able to come. There's certainly many elite players in the United States that either haven't put their hand up or are not able or interested in traveling to this event that we couldn't get. But as long as you're kind of ready for that level of engagement, you'll still have a good time. Like you'll still enjoy yourself.
Now,
But you don't want to bring someone that's just going to get knocked around and just leave. Like this game isn't fun anymore.
Now, I think you're kind of right. If you're not mentally prepared to potentially play Gurkhas 6 games in a row, then you could be onto a problem. The chances are you won't play 6 Gurkha teams in a row, but the possibility is there. It's not impossible.
Had Case Blue not come out, I'd have had a miserable time. I was always only ever going to take Italians. If I took Italians with Avanti Savoia, I'd have had a miserable time. By comparison,
Yeah,
I think. But
you'd have drunk a lot more,
out,
I'm sure.
I would have drunk a lot more. I'd have been drinking throughout the day. I'd have broken every rule that we've already talked about. Because I played way too many events with this shit Italian rules, and I think that would have been a mistake for me. But yeah, play events, go to them. Yeah. I got 8 games in before WTC. I thank God I did. Even though the last 2 games against Aldershot, I lost both of those, and I made some I found out what my army couldn't do, and that was really important for me. So just play events. Just go and play them.
Next slide, please, Spurlie.
Go. Reach out.
So related to that, reach out to people in the community who are going to events, who are, members of the community. Talk to people, become part of that community, right? Because share ideas, plan, play with people, ingratiate in the community. Because ultimately, these are the people you're going to have to get on a plane with, right? And travel to another country with and roll dice with, right? So you might as well get started now. Exactly. Well, exactly. And I know we've called out specifically the Juggernaut Discord here, and that's not just us sucking ourselves off. It kind of is just a little bit. But ultimately, if you come on our Discord, there's loads of players who are there from all over the world, who are competitive players, because that's why they come to the Juggernaut Discord, right? They come to this podcast, they go, oh, I like competitive play. I'm going to go and talk to other people who like competitive play. Matt's hanging out on there. Bo's hanging out on there. There's loads of people hanging out on the Discord. So if you just come on and say, hi, I want to get started in competitive play, but I don't really know where to begin, come and talk to us. We will talk to you. You know what I mean?
If you haven't been on the Discord, it's surprisingly one of the nicer places to be on the internet. It's a pretty
careful.
You're gonna make me cry.
It is. It's sad but true.
One thing I would suggest, is don't come on there. The first thing you do is post a list and then say, "Can I get list advice?"
Yeah.
Because
ease yourself in gently.
Yeah, actually let people know you first.
Lube it in. Yeah. And I was going to say the other bit on there. I was going to say is that it's worth noting that although we say go to the Juggernaut podcast, it's a good place to hang out and find this stuff. None of the captains were Juggernauts this year. And the WTC is not a Juggernaut thing.
The England team definitely had a reputation, at least at the start, of having Toby just being Topher and his mates. And in many ways it was because recruitment was a freaking struggle. We're in a different place now.
Yeah,
it's way bigger. Like me and maybe Owen are the only 2 potential juggers. Maybe Phil Crowcroft as well, the only potential juggers you could say who were on the teams. The vast majority of people not from our club in Leicestershire, right?
Yeah, I'd ignore what Alex is wearing right now as well.
Sure.
Don't let Andy see you wearing that on this podcast.
I was going to say the point is there's loads of people who contribute, who are all from different clubs across the country, right? Particularly in America, right? You're all in different states and everything, right? So don't, and especially leave your loyalties behind. Yeah. Because it's not about that anymore. I know inter-club rivalry, especially in England, can be a real thing. I don't know if it's like that in the US. But leave that shit. You're Team England now.
I do want to interject one thing about reaching out. Is that I think, particularly as an American player, I think your odds of enjoying this event, I think, are magnified tremendously if you want to go, find a friend that find a club mate that wants to go with you. I think a big part of my team's success is attributed to the fact that we're all club mates. We're the only USA team that has 4 club mates on a single team. I know USA 3 has a couple. Major and Micah Barbo are mates from the Houston area, I believe. And we had a couple brothers that got
Go
split
say
up because
brothers, one in USA 1, one in USA 3.
Yeah,
For the brothers.
and so, but like that, going into an event like this with at least like one mate that you're there with, you like the two of you, teams, just gives you opportunities. Like there's so many advantages to that, sharing sort of the responsibility and the burden of going to an event like this makes it better. So, and I think it's more uniquely an American problem, because of the challenges we have.
It ties in with like jumping on Discords, reaching out, talking to people, so that if you do end up going to the WTC, whilst you may not have actually physically met the people that you're going with, you at least already have some sort of relationship there with them. There
was an England Juggernaut, England Discord, and I hadn't met Phil before, and we quickly established that he was my brother from another mother. And even before we left and we were sharing a room and everything, it's that lead up to it is actually a really important part of it, and getting to know your teammates and that you really bed in what your goals are, which we've already talked about. But yeah, reach out. It's just, we're nice people.
From a TO point of view here, and not teaching other countries how to suck eggs, but having a Discord server for your country's team is a great idea. And if you've got more than one team, you can set up different channels and permissions so that different levels can see different things. And it just gives you a place for, as a country, you can all congregate and talk about things. And then also as your teams, you can split off, still in the same place, and still talk about it.
I know the Danish and Italian teams do similar things, and you can definitely tell that they have a good community, and like anyone that wants to get involved, they're really welcoming and get people in and join up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Next slide.
I'm already on it, mate.
Are you on it?
Already done it,
in which
mate.
case, come on, Alex. Talk to us about the captain's curse.
There's no curse. It's just constant stress every game.
It says there right at the top, this is absolutely a real thing and not just a made-up phenomenon to massage egos. It's right there. I wrote it down. Matt, you can talk about the captain's curse as well. As a captain 2023, I can talk about the curse. It's a real thing.
I think you'll find that Matt can't talk about the curse.
La-di-da.
Yeah.
It depends what's going on, right? Like I know Toph was struggling in himself last year, and some of that, as a team, we should have worked together and said, Toph, your list last year has a 6-inch range. It's wrong. But I know Toph was captain and he put it on himself last year, and not only was he struggling through the event, I had it this year. I only won 3 games. I was quite worried about Toph's health for half a day, but my head is like, I know I'm paying attention to these things, but I'm also losing my games and I'm putting all that weight on myself. And I think, especially stepping into captaincy for the first time this year, actually realising that we are playing as a team, we've discussed that, you don't need to put all that pressure on yourself. So if you don't do well, it's not like a reflection specifically on you, because as long as you've done everything to get your team up and running as the captain, you're doing your job. And you will hold each other up. Next year, Toph can go back to losing 3 times, and I'll finally get the 6-0. But just don't be afraid that like the pressure's not on you. Yeah, you are captain. You've got extra responsibilities. But
we were talking earlier that if in doubt, your first port of call, which is in the thing, is you go to your captain before for a ruling, which means that as a captain, you're constantly or can be constantly being interrupted during your own game, which slows you down and also means it's harder for you to actually concentrate on it. So that's one of the keys there, is that there are lots of other pressures that you don't really appreciate as a player. And it's like, well, actually, do I really want to hassle them? Because you see your captain like this, really deep in thought, trying to work out what to do next with their KP2. And it's like, I don't really want to hassle them. You said, what can I try and blow up next with?
Martin was not wondering what to do next with his KV2. He was thinking, what poor life choice has I made in the past 12 months that has made me bring a KV2?
This guide is, this guide as presented is designed for the newbie, right? It's designed for the people who are joins the WTC for the first time. So in which case, you're probably not going to be a captain. That'll be given to someone who's been before. But what this is trying to say is, don't make additional work for your captain. Don't make their life difficult. Turn up on time. Follow instructions. Don't be an argumentative cunt. Just do what you're told and follow. Because they've already got shitloads to deal with. They don't need you to give them problems as well. Do you know, that's kind of the what we can say to newbies is like, yes, I know it's a bit silly because we're all going and playing toy soldiers, so why do you have to take it so serious? But at the end of the day, especially if you're a team that's trying to win it, take it fucking seriously, because if you cause your captain a headache, you're gonna have a bad time.
Your captain has stuff behind the scenes to do as well.
Not just what you see. We were talking about earlier that we wanted to drink beer and blow shit up, but we were always there on time. We were always at breakfast at 7 o'clock in the morning. The basics, we still did all that. Made sure we were in the right place, had our armies with us, etc. Drank our water, had our snacks, because we took that side of it seriously. And that's because you just have to. You have to support your captain.
Any thoughts, Matt?
I have the easiest captain's job in the world because I play with 3 of my very good friends, and same as last year. But I think there are times where we had to ask Micah Barbo from USA 3. It's his first time at this event, and he took on that job and had 2 teammates that he had never met before in real life. So, just have some empathy for how challenging that can be, because, at the end of the day, your captain is just they're looking out for you. And that's always my biggest priority, is I want to make sure that my guys are having a good time and not getting frustrated, and that they're navigating the tournament space as easily as possible. And just understand that while I'm doing that, I'm also trying to play at a high level, and I'm trying to do my best to support. So just have empathy. It sounds pretty simple, but
easier said than done.
Yeah. Well, I'll just get before we move on to the next slide, which is already up. But before we start talking about it, I would say Matt was one of the captains leading by example, rather than, a captain putting the right people in the right places and getting beat up. Because I'm dropping one of the stats that I said I was going to drop. Yeah. So
here we go.
Yeah.
I haven't heard this before. No, this is new to me.
This is new stats. This hasn't been out there yet. This is stuff I've only put together the other day, and everybody will get to see everything next week. Next Thursday, jump on. It's stats night. But tonight there were only 8. Well, there were 8 undefeated players actually at the WTC that didn't lose a game. 2 of them 6 wins. One of them our very own Topher number 2. He's not in blue anymore. He's in black, so he looks like he's about to go clubbing in Colville. So that. Then you had number 8 on the list, so the lowest ranked undefeated player still came 14th in the event, and that was our very own Matt Sabah-Vazir. 3 wins, 3 draws, I believe it was. So there you go.
And one of my teammates was 4 wins and 2 draws.
Yeah, that was Corey. He came 7th.
I'm going.
Sorry, go on.
Go on, Paddy.
Oh, I was going to say.
You go. Go.
I was going to say. So the top 7 players were actually all undefeated, and then 14th for you, Matt. So that's actually, for a captain, like Alex would have been stoked to get 3 wins and 3 draws, I'm sure.
I'm going to shout out Alex as a captain.
He did
a really fucking good job, and Alex, you're a better captain than me. Much better captain than me, because just your ability to just get shit done, and not just even on the weekend, on the run up to the weekend, getting your questions on the captain's chat, communicating stuff to the team, passing guidance on when you've seen rulings and stuff. It's a lot of fucking work, and it's very thankless, and you did it brilliantly. I mean, we nearly fucking won the event this year, right? And that's down to you, Alex, for getting us there. So
I was
captain that one guy of winning it. So, I mean, it's
I would agree. Alex was a better captain than you, Toph, because, like you said, England one came second, which
Me
you never
stepping down
managed.
me stepping down as captain, saying I'll do all the repping, Alex, you do the captain. It was the best decision I made this ship. Absolutely. So,
Also,
and I swear it's not entirely the port. It's like that much of the port saying that. There you go. Just like that much.
Topher knows my favorite stat. My favorite personal stat from the WTC is that I've played. This was my second WTC, and I only have one loss over the past 2 years, and it's to Topher. So.
Oh, that's fighting talk for next year.
It continue?
Somebody's looking for 6-0 next year, then, isn't there? Yeah.
Let's do it. I'm all for it.
Currently, I'm in the middle of an 11 match unbeaten streak. Because it was my first match last year that I lost to Topher, and then I rattled up.
Dan's going to pop up in a second.
He's just gone on a rampage since.
Dan is going to pop up in a second.
Yeah.
I'm going to check our WhatsApp. Dan's going to be going, he ain't as good as me. Yeah, you're all shit.
Yeah. Anyway, now the slide that you've been on for 5 minutes we've not been talking about.
But we have because we have been having fun. So
we have been having fun. But this is focusing on the games and make sure that in the games you are having, actually have fun. Because you've paid a lot of money and you've travelled a long way. Make sure you're enjoying yourself, yeah? Like, we're talking a lot of shit about how serious you need to take this and blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, we're here to play 6 good games against people you've hopefully never played before. Yeah. Right. Focus on that. That's your priority.
There was a moment in one of my games against Bo, and he looked at me like I was nuts because I was doing something, and I just went, go big or go home. And I was just like, yeah, I'm here to have fun. Which is funny because Miguel Santos asked me on the Friday, he's like, we're doing all the boards and he's like, you excited for tomorrow? And I was like, honestly, no. At that point, I was just intimidating by it all. I didn't think I was going to have fun. I was tired. But that lasted until about 7 o'clock the following morning, at which point it was, all of my games were, one way or another, a lot of fun. And I had fun. And that was the key.
It's one of those, like, it is what you make it kind of things. Like, make sure you can find enjoyment in losing. Do you know what I mean? Some people get really salty when they lose. Maybe WTC is not the best place for you because you might be quite upset because you're going to lose a lot, especially if you've not been to a tournament of that level before. Yeah. So make sure you can find enjoyment in it.
Is also like a weird mix of one of my games against Alistair from Spain. I lost the game. But actually, it was a really fun game because right at the end, we were having to do maths. We had Dan over, Carlos, the captain. We were going through the mission pack to find out if it was a draw or a loss and what the balance was. And it was we were so involved in the game that, you know what, I'm not too upset that I lost the game because it was so close. It was really fun. And actually, if one side had stopped the other, I would have gone away and gone, it was a rubbish game, whether I won or lost. It's irrelevant. So, take away the fun bits when you can, irrespective of the score that came out of it.
I got hammered by, is it Massimo, the Italian captain?
Massimo, yeah.
I got hammered by him. And in the end, I had an officer and a mule team trying to escape from him. And we basically said they had the wine. And he was trying, because it had got to that point, it was like, and we were just, and the whole game, he absolutely stomped me. But it turned into, the last bit of it was me trying to work out how I could keep the officer alive so that he didn't capture my wine. I mean, this is the WTC. He's beaten me, and I got horribly beaten up. Great player. And I was just like, but we still found a little bit of fun in it.
Well, what you were doing there is you were getting petty.
I was getting petty.
Yes,
I did with Bo as well, with my air truck. I was trying to keep that alive as well.
Yeah. You could just have handed it to the table into him, but instead you got petty and were like, no, you made him. I got petty.
No, you don't get the wine. But yeah, have fun. Go with it.
It's actually a very good general point for when you go to any events. Sometimes just don't worry about winning. I know we're talking about WTC here, but sometimes if you just go and have fun, actually your games, you'll one of the local players, he played at an event we were running down on the south coast last weekend. He seemed to be having so much more fun than he does normally by just relaxing a bit. And actually his win-loss started going up because he wasn't like overcompensating of I have to win.
One of the most fun events I had last year was when I went to the Welsh Nationals with my 2 Tigers and fucked about for a whole weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, so much fun. I lost every game. You
We had
know,
a
got the
great
spoon,
time.
got absolutely trashed, but I fucking loved it.
I wonder whether
you were
England
gifted
C,
that
because
spoon.
we had no pressure and we were just going there for fun, I wonder if we played better.
Yeah.
I genuinely...
I think I played better. I had more fun and I was more daring, and that's got me my 3 wins.
I think that you guys probably had a more fun weekend than England 1 did, and that's not to say that England 1 didn't have a fun weekend, but you guys proper leaned into that fuck it, blow shit up mindset, which I think it's a fun way to do it, you know.
Yeah. England 1, I would say, you had stressed fun. You know.
Yeah.
Whereas England 3 did not have stress.
No.
It was what it was.
To be fair, Matt, I like looking at your team because your team always seemed like you was having fun regardless as well. There was no like...
We had a...
You know what I mean? It was all like...
No, we're really lucky, and it goes back to what we talked about. Team, we were playing for each other. You know, we have a lot of fun playing because we're in an area that competitive play is a little bit looked down on. So we've sort of galvanized our circle of the competitive players. We're looking out for each other. We're going to create an environment where we can have fun playing competitively, even if, you know, a lot of our local games doesn't necessarily cater to that. And so, you know, it just brought it when we have an opportunity to do like this, like, hey, let's go and, you know, really, like, let's knock it out as best we can. And yeah, you know, like when we were talking earlier about, you know, going to events and just, you know, getting the ball rolling for yourself from a competitive standpoint. My teammate Ken is a perfect example of that. He showed up at one of our biggest tournaments that we'd ever run like 2 years ago and was getting tabled every round and just getting throttled. I mean, the paint was still sticky on his models. He literally had just gotten into the game. And then a year later, he shows up with multi-launchers and Stewarts because he'd been listening to the Juggernauts. And then, you know, a year later, he's like, I want to Spain. And he crushed. He had a great weekend. So.
Do you know,
it's American Handsome Spurlie.
I was just about to say exactly the same thing, Owen. I was just about to say that.
American Handsome Spurlie.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's so many people out there that wish they were me. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, and that comes directly into the next slide that Spurs already has, like, happily got up, which is it's all about attitude, right? It's the attitude that you bring to the games, and that's what really matters. You know, being magnificent in victory, gracious in defeat. TO decisions as well is a big one, especially in previous years where people have been like not necessarily the most well behaved. I'm happy to say that's definitely been fixed for the most part coming forward. And it's setting the tone for your team. Now, if you're joining Team England, this is one of my main drivers as rep from now on, which is 2024 in particular. We had absolutely no complaints about Team England. I didn't hear a single complaint about, oh, you guys are being rude, you guys are playing the game properly, you guys are cheating, you guys are pulling shit and shenanigans, you know what I mean? And this is the standard that I want for my teams as English rep, yeah. And it is a high bar. It's an absolutely high bar, but I don't give a fuck. This is the line, you know. You come to the event and you play well, you play fun, you play fairly, and you have the correct attitude. You don't strop off when you lose. You shake hands, you say, well done. Mm-hmm. You know, it's simple shit. And I wish it was as easy as it sounds, because not everyone's like that. But Team England, I'm happy to say, Matt, you may be able to confirm or deny this, that Team England has a pretty fucking good reputation internationally as a team, in that people don't think, oh, I don't want to play Team England, they're a bunch of arseholes. Do you know what I mean? And that's whether Team 1, Team 2, Team 3, it's the same, right? And that's a reputation that needs to continue. Continue. No one wants to be that team.
We played Team 1 last year, and we played Team 2 this year. And it was some of the most fun we've had playing bolt action overall. It really was.
Good.
My most fun game was against USA 1. I played John, and I lost. But it was that great thing between two people that were playing completely fairly, and it was really tactical. But it was an absolutely fantastic game with lots of banter. It was great.
John is right where he needs to be. Like he is. Like we were very, very fortunate that because he played in Cork for the first time, as like he was at USA 2 because the Snafu lads were USA 1 in Cork.
Yeah,
and John's team was like the afterthought. They had a local Irish guy that jumped onto their team to fill out their numbers because they came up short. And then when John Russell moved aside and stopped with the USA rep duties, we couldn't have been luckier than to get someone like John Ross, who's passionate about it. He's passionate about, here in the States, he's the guy that kind of like he waves the banner for putting on higher levels of tournament play, and he's written, he has like the Gamer's Bill of Rights that he's sort of known for, where he promotes good tournaments that are worth spending your time and money for. So he believes it, and I know firsthand how much work he puts in behind the scenes to mobilize and get everyone ready. So this is just me talking. And
as another player from another country who's kind of very distantly, you see it from afar. That comes across, right?
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm really passionate about with, as England rep forming the England teams, right? Is you could be the best player in the country. You could be the dog's bollocks. You could table everyone. You could be amazing. But if you're an arsehole, I do not want you on my teams.
And that
is as simple as that.
That is why That's why Dan TO's now,
Exactly, because he's an arsehole. Absolutely. But that's ultimately what it comes down to. I would rather lose honourably than win dishonourably.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be the country that wins and everyone goes, oh, fucking all right then. Do you know what I mean? You want to be the country that wins and everyone goes, you know what, you fucking earned it. Last year, Spain had, there was stuff that went down, which meant when their win happened, it was a bit, I don't want to get into it. But this time, they came and they won fucking properly. They smashed us as they deserved it. And that's what you want. You don't, and the thing is, if you've got a team of four, obviously each team's for 4 players. If you've got 3 smashing, amazing blokes, but one guy who's a cunt, they will remember the cunt. So don't be the cunt. Be the one of the 3. Be better.
Be one of the faceless minions. Yeah. Don't
be the minion.
Don't stand out. Don't be unique. Blended. Be vanilla. Yeah, that's it, Topher.
Right, should we move on? I think that's the top side that can just be replaced with don't be the cunt.
Sorry, what was you about to say? Matt, I feel like you had something to add about don't be the cunt.
Yeah, I said be the dick in the balls, not the cunt.
Oh.
What's the World Police quote? Is like dicks may be dicks, but at least dicks fuck assholes. Do you know? I'm sure I misquoted that. I'm sorry.
It'll do.
Yeah, it'll do.
So read
the pack.
Yeah.
Read the pack. I'm as guilty for not. I read it a couple of times. There's a few times I called the TO over and Dan was like, it is what it says in the pack. And I'm kind of like, don't be me. Read the fucking pack.
I have an admission here to my teammates. Not only did I read the pack before the event, but I even used a highlighter to highlight all the things like what type of thing it was, and I learned all the missions.
You're on the wrong team, buddy. You need a promotion, man.
No, this is why he's not on England one, because you've got players like Richard, who I don't think could even look. He just goes, "How do I build my army?" Yeah, you guys tell him. He then builds a list, and then that's it.
Do you know who does not look at that?
Did you read it to him?
My captain.
Did Luke read it to him at night before he went to sleep? Was that what happened?
It was like that thing. It's thing from Friends. He put his little earphones on him, didn't it? He just read the pack over and over to him.
Matt, do you have to record yourself reading the pack as an audiobook for your team? Is that just an England thing?
Yeah, I was going to say, Womble, I need to introduce you to my my very good friend Alan Tibbetts. who is no stranger to a highlighter and little notepad.
Shout out to Alan. He hangs out in our Discord.
Yeah,
He's a good lad.
yeah.
Good lad. Shout out
He
to
is
Alan.
no stranger around these parts. Let's put it that way.
He's a known quantity, my friend.
If you ever have a rules question,
on a
he's
full-time
already got
debate.
it pre-highlighted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use the highlighter.
The main thing with reading the pack, and then this applies to all competitive games, not just the WCs, this is everything, right? Is when you get to the table, you want to focus on the game. You want to get to the table, pull your army out, and spank your opponent's army to bits. Yeah, you don't want to be sitting there going, "Is this worth 2 victory points or 3? Do I get forward? Do I get forward deploys in this? Have I got prep in this?"
And it's when your opponent,
no, you want to get that. Yeah, you want to get that shit sorted.
it's when your opponent's asking those questions, and without looking at it, you can go, "Yeah, this has got forward deploy. Yes, you can outflank on it, etc." And it's just like, yeah, and I actually find, well, the reason I did it is previously at events, I found that not knowing the missions, particularly the missions, I found quite stressful. What is it doing? What are the win conditions? So I knew that was a weakness that I'd get stressed about. So I just printed them off and spent a little bit of time learning them.
This has actually been the starting point for all of my 2-day events now. Is I go through the pack, and especially if you've got missions that have special deployment or things that change from the rulebook. If you've been given those missions in advance, and this will kind of like mingle in with our next slide, I go through my army and I work out what I'm doing for each mission with my army. It helps on the timeliness front. So we get to the table, and you know what mission you're playing, and your opponent is there going, "Oh, right, okay, we're allowed outflanking on this mission, so I'm going to put these units in outflank." I'm there, and I'm like, boom, sorted. These 2 units, I decided on the plane over to Spain that this is what I'm doing, so I'm already ahead of myself.
I was going to say, even if you're literally you're time swamped and you can't fit it in somehow, mate, you've got an hour or 2 on a plane. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially if you're coming from the States, you've got 7-8 hours on the plane. Just read the freaking pack, but print it out for God's sake. Do you know what I mean? Make sure you digest that information.
You're not making me feel any better about the Welsh Nationals in May. Because, you know, I've done none of this yet, and it feels like I should have been.
You got time, buddy. You got time. You got time. You're all right.
You got your ticket yet? You got your ticket yet? That's a no.
I'm sorting it, mate. I'm sorting it. I'll do it.
You best do it.
Can I wait till? Let me wait till payday, please.
Wait until I pay you back. Tell you what.
Yes.
I'll send you next week. I'll send you 60 and just buy your ticket for you.
Yeah. Deal. Sorry, that's like non-podcast chat. He owes me money. Don't worry about it.
Move on.
Oh,
the other thing was actually the point there was that which is probably worth picking out. Getting to the tables early, understanding the missions. Not all the tables were symmetric, so there were definitely games where it paid to be on one side or the other, depending on your army. Particularly with the amount of multi-launchers, if there's one that's got 3 ruins and 1 building, and one that's 3 buildings and 1 ruin, and you're not a multi-launch player, or you know you're up against one, you want to know which side it is. And I think that I found it quite interesting, and I was making those calls because I understood the mission, I understood the opponents, I got to the table early, and I think that's worth noting. Because Juggernaut events I've been to, the tables are almost always not symmetrical, but they're balanced. This was the first event too, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't an issue with the tables. I quite liked it, and I think I mentioned in the last podcast that they weren't always symmetrical. There were advantages one way or another, particularly if I'm all-wheeled vehicles. I want to avoid stuff that blocks me off with roads. Not with roads, with walls and things. So there was a lot to be done about understanding the mission from the pack and then applying that before the game even started.
There's also a note on this slide about the FAQ. If you're going to an event that's got an FAQ, because I know there's a couple now, pay attention to them. I know I was very quickly on the England Discord. Anytime something came up that I was like, this affects our armies and how we play them, or more specifically, how we normally play them. If there's any change, I'm like, pay attention here. This will affect your games. Well, I have every confidence in the guys in my team that whatever the ruling is, as long as they know it, they can play around it and they can compensate. We had a ruling at WTC that you could sit not touching the edge of cover, but within an inch, and you could get full firing, but charges would still be slowed to simultaneous. And 3 out of our 4 lists were close combat armies because we're all suicidal and like to run in. It affected us, but making sure that everyone knows ahead of time that this is going to affect you, then you're already in that mental space of, right, okay, well, I'll work out. I need to watch out for these situations. There'll be all kinds of things in the FAQs if there are FAQs. If you're a team event, ask these kind of questions in advance and take note of them.
I guess this comes to the next slide as well. Understand your army so that when you read the FAQ, you can understand what affects you and what doesn't. And I think this is one of the key ones, is know what your army does and how to play it. Fundamentally, you need to know how your army does what it does. And I want to shout out Womble for his Italians, who, I know when Bo reviewed your list, kind of went, what the fuck, bro? And yet you managed to go 3 wins, right? So, clearly you make it work because it's your army and you understand it. We've all, I have my Lancer list, it's quite famous now, but, and Alex can tell you this, Alex has ran that exact same list, and yet he can't do with it what I can do with it yet. We'll see. Maybe with a bit more practice he'll get there. But it's understanding your army and how it works that really is, that extra sprinkling of topping on your nice pudding. Do you know what I mean? Knowing what your army does and being able to react with that because you know it fundamentally. That's the key.
Yeah, John Ross made the comment playing me, is he's part of the way in, because he said, I'd seen your army, apparently he's playing doing some Italians. And he was just like, I saw your army, I had no idea. And then he said, I watched you play it. And it's like, all of a sudden it makes sense. And that's it. And it's different metas and different. Yeah, is mine the best Italian army? That waits to be seen. Probably not. But thank you for the compliment. It's a lot of fun. It works, and it can work very well. But the other thing is, and it's Alex's point, I knew that in almost every single mission, I was putting 2 auto protectos, 2 surrender squads, and 2 flamethrowers into reserve because they were my counter punch. But just knowing that for every mission, that I'd already decided that was going to be, and then I knew if I was outflanking on some of them, that would be my officer and my mules. And I already knew all of that, and I didn't have to think about it at the table. I knew what I was going to do. And also, no one's going to correct you. If you make a mistake with your army, no one's going to correct you. No one's going to go, oh, you're not playing that right.
Well, Bo's just popped up and said that your army is very personal, Womble. Yeah.
Well, that's what it is. The whole, if there's any theme you can have to this entire WTC prep pack, is that you do all the work in advance. Everything, reading packs, working out your list, sorting, practicing, going to taunts, so that when you're there on the day and the weekend, the only thing you need to focus on is your opponent. Yeah? Because if you turn up with a brand new list, you've not read the pack, you don't know the mission, you've got up drinking last night, you've only just got out of bed 10 minutes ago, you will lose because you don't have a fucking clue what you're doing. That's the takeaway. Yeah, that is it. That is the WTC.
It's the same with the Formula 1 drivers. Formula 1 drivers never think about driving the car. That's why, the Alonso's and this thing, they look at it, they can watch the TV, they can see what everyone else is doing, they can plan. It's because they're not thinking inside the car. They're not thinking about their own car, their own army, or whatever it happens to be. They're just applying it to the surroundings around them. That's it. Just know your own army.
It's also...
Yep.
It's the number one place where you can get leverage in a competitive game is... at the end of the day, you're going to understand your army a heck of a lot more than your opponent understands your army. And if you go into that knowing that if I know this army really well, and the space in between where advantage is gained is when my opponent makes a mistake as to trying to figure out what I'm trying to do. If you know what you're trying to do, and in a critical moment, your opponent has a miscue based on what you're trying to accomplish. You're just that's a great opportunity for you to get some success there. That's why I play Chaffies.
Yeah, and again, it comes back to my Lancers. I played the fuck out of them. I know 18 inches very well. Do you know what I mean? It's just really simple stuff like knowing how to predict ranges, how to get them into combat. It's really simple shit. And yet, that's what makes the difference. That's what, having lost 100 times with your army, will make you more likely to get the win on the 101st attempt. Next slide, please.
Yeah,
my good friend.
There. Rules. Know your rules.
And this is again the stuff that accounts for your army. The amount of people over the WTC didn't understand how lancers worked. For me, didn't understand how the 2 dice tough fighter worked. Didn't understand how the close combat rules worked. I know them very intimately because I charge people and I do it successfully. You know, simple as that, right? If you're a British Gurkha player and you don't know how to charge people, what the fuck are you doing? In all honesty, what the fuck are you doing? Because that is how you win with Gurkhas. You charge things and you win combat. Know your rules, especially the ones that pertain to you.
And we were talking about the calling over TO over because different countries may play a rule differently. We're talking about with obstacles and tanks and vehicles, and some of that might be to do with dodgy translations. You know, it may just not translate the same way, and as a consequence, so it's worth getting that clarity because your opponent probably isn't doing it out of malice. They're probably doing it because that's the interpretation that they've done in their country. And not everybody's rulebook is in English, and the event is an English event, or English language event from a rulebook point of view. But you do need to understand that might not be the way that it is. You know, the Spanish rulebook might not be quite the same way. And I think that's one of the keys. And the other one is that if you know that a rule isn't being played or observed, call it out. Even if you're like, oh, that was okay, you know, I'm not fussed about it, but you call it out because if you just leave it and then try and bring it up later, you won't be able to, really, or you will, but you might cause an argument. But if it's like, look, actually, you probably couldn't have seen them, but it's okay, it was only 2 shots and it didn't mean anything. But that's fine. You've set the precedent. We noticed it. For next time, we'll make sure we get it right. And it's just, don't let things go. And I mean, that could go back to what happened to last event, but it's don't let things go, but you don't necessarily have to make an argument out of it.
There's another good point for events in general. The number of times I've heard people at tournaments say, oh, they let something slide, and then at the end of the game, they're complaining because they lost because the person took advantage. You're setting that precedent of, I will let things. And just saying, you know, that's not quite right. People go, okay, they are paying attention. I can't slide stuff through and see what I can get away with.
The classic is that slight adjustment of a vehicle at the end of a move.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I watch people move vehicles like a hawk because I'm like, that's not how you do it. It's one move and 1 90-degree turn. That's it. Nothing more or less than that.
Go on then.
Next slide.
Cool. Yeah.
Next slide.
Get good. Repetition.
I mean, it's more of just the same shit in it. Like, these slides just make sure you fucking play your games, man. Get your list and play with it. Get out there, play, lose a lot of games. Learn from your losses.
Yeah.
It's you know, another example we've already mentioned. Topher Spurlie came to a Juggernaut event with his notebook, lost every single game, took notes every game. Came back the next, not 4 sets back, fucking won the damn thing by using his notes and learning from his mistakes. It's as simple as that. It's really boring and it doesn't make a good podcast, right? Isn't fun for, isn't interesting. How do I get good? Just play a load of games.
Play a lot.
Play a load of games. Don't make the same mistakes twice.
Yeah. Go on, Alex.
I quite often jibe, you know, oh, look at all these Gurkha players, you know, filthy Gurkha players. They're just taking Gurkhas to win. It's easy wins, it's Gurkhas. But actually, when you look at like the big names of Gurkha players, there's Bose, there's Rich, there's Russell Wright, there's Matt. Like when we were leading into WTC last year, I'm not saying I stalked people on Facebook, but I could see Matt plays British. They're his army. He knows his army, and it's getting in that repetition with your army. There's a reason they're winning, and it's not just because they put Gurkhas in their list. It's because they've played that list or similar lists over and over and over.
Also, I didn't play Gurkhas this year.
You didn't know?
Shock horror.
You know, you played Poe Gurkhas. Yeah.
So, what you're saying is, don't turn up to an event with an army you've literally just built.
I mean, to be fair, if that's how you roll, that's absolutely fine. But then you can't complain if you get rinsed.
Again, I'm just thinking about the Welsh Nationals and what I'm planning to do. So, yeah.
I also think as players, actually, like my personal perspective, I've only been playing bolt action for 3 and a bit years. I like to cycle through armies. I like to different play styles because I mean, there's a degree when you're first starting out of what's my play style, but actually taking Toph's Lancers, copying his list, playing with them, I'm like, A, I'm not as good as he is with them, but B, can I learn something from this? Can I learn how to play against it? So it comes to just getting different kinds of games in as well. You will learn from every single loss. And like Owen said, he lost a couple of games in our practice games in the lead up, but he learned way more than if he just smashed those games.
I have something I want to interject too, and it's one of my pet peeves, is it's very easy as a player that's coming into like just learning competitive play to focus on lists. It's fun to see like the list that did well because it's one of the few pieces of data that you can just kind of look at and really have fun with. But I encourage everyone, like, do something to make your list your own, because you're just gonna if you have a personal touch. You know, if there's a unit in your army that you said, you know what, I know everyone's playing Canadian Engineers and I know everyone's playing this. I've found success with this. And you're going to do a heck of a lot better with an army that you love and that you're personally invested in than something that you've maybe, put together because it's the correct list.
I want to take the moment to shout out Jonathan Forbes, who I believe is a local to your area, Matt, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and I know he's a good guy, and I know he's been trying to work out Lancers and to mixed results. Yeah. And I know after he discovered that obviously I went undefeated at WTC, he reached out to me and he was like, shit, Toph, how the fuck did you do that? And like, obviously, and of course, I said, here's my tips, here's my tactics and stuff, and he's gone away, he's taking it away. Hopefully he takes it away, but at the same time, hopefully he adapts it to his style, because of course I play my way, he plays his way. If he just tries to just copy my list without understanding how it works in when he factors into it, then of course it's not going to work in the same way. It's not necessarily works as well for Alex as it does for me, but it's taking on the learnings that you can and adapting it to your own play style and going forward. And if you do get battered, which will happen, not just throwing in the towel and go, fuck you, mate, fuck you, shit, and going, actually, this is what I can take from that, this is what I can learn from that. And whether you're listening to us, whether you're watching both videos, whether you're listening to Tabletop Tactics, whatever your method of absorbing information is, it is all one big pot. Yeah, and you need to take what is useful to you out of that.
Yeah, Jonathan, come to Augusta, come to Greenhouse Games, play bolt action with us.
You've been told. You've been fucking told now, boy. I recommend that.
He lives in Southern Maine. He's like an hour or so away from us, but
okay.
We've been trying to get him up to, because he's super active on all the competitive boards. And I was like,
yeah, good. I want to see you, Jonathan, at the WTC with Lancers. Yeah.
But you offered me to borrow your Lancers, didn't you, for this year?
And then you put it out.
I failed, and I've pushed out to stay with Italians because
loser.
That's a surprise that we never saw coming.
But honest to God, I think I would do better with Lancers because I am hyper aggressive. I shouldn't be playing Italians really.
First, people, Owen shouldn't be playing Italians.
I shouldn't be playing them, but for some reason I'm just thinking of now, I've got several shelves of Italians, and I'll keep pushing it. But that is what it is.
Can I have another page, please, Spurlie?
Oh, it's already there. Look.
I can't see because the stream's behind.
One of the things, I'll pick up this. So one of those things is, and it leads on from the rules piece, is be precise in everything you do. And we talked about it earlier. It's like one of your reasons your voice will go is because you're talking a lot about what you're doing. And it's a case of if you're moving a vehicle and it's a wheeled vehicle, you say, I am making my turn. And then I have moved 5 inches. I am making my second turn. And not only does that give your opponent confidence but also A, it shows intent, and B, you're setting the ground rules. I'm doing it this way. I expect you to do the same. And therefore, you need, I expect you to move your vehicles in the same way, be very precise, and avoid any sort of arguments, or did you move this, did you not move that, have you moved far enough? It's very much a case of, this is my intent, and Pete talked about it in the last one, wasn't it? Is you take your dice out and say, I am going to advance this unit, and you put the dice down, and therefore you do the advance. I mean, I was playing one game, and I said, I'll advance my officer, put it down, then realised he wasn't going to make it. I could easily have run it. There was no difference, actually, but I said declared advance. I moved. I wasn't within the 6 inches. You just have to live with it, but you have to be precise and live by it.
Yeah, it's almost as if that bit's in the rules. Declare what you're going to do, and then do it.
My favourite game this year was against Alessandro. Shout out if you're listening, from the Italian team. And one of the things I loved about it, he was very, very specific, and he spoke about what he was doing as he was doing it. As he would say, I'm going to advance 6 inches into this woods, and my intention is that I will then hit you on 5s because you won't be in cover. Do you know what I mean? And being very methodical and communicative style as you're communicating what you are doing. Therefore, it's really easy to then play, mutually agree, right, well, if you're trying to do that, you're going to need to move there. And then you can save the argument, right, because you know what each other's trying to do. And therefore, it just saves so much argument when you declare and talk through what you're doing as you're doing it. Now, obviously, there's a level to this, because you don't want to be like, oh, by the way, I'm going to charge you next turn. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to give the entire game away. But actually talking through with your opponent as you're doing it, I'm moving 4 inches here, I'm turning 90 degree there, I'm going to advance there, and now I'm hitting you on the side. Do you agree? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I'm really clear about it.
I'm assuming Matt had kind of the opposite of that in his game against the Italians, because he played Raphael. So rather than him being told what was happening, it would have been shouted at him.
It was expressed. It was expressed.
Did the fingers come out? Did it happen?
We had a good game, and I didn't have any. When you mentioned afterwards that he was the fireball, I was like, we had a good game. Like, yeah, he's
a brilliant guy, but he's so passionate in everything he says.
Oh, I almost contested. You're wrong. And I was like, yeah. But my dice came up first, so it worked out.
You didn't have a Richard playing him, and Richard is like a mirror sometimes. If you're a calm, quiet player, he'll be calm and quiet. If you're animated, he becomes animated. He became our Italian.
I'm the same. Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, I understand Rich fundamentally, because I'm exactly the same. If you're an arsehole to me, I'm going to be an arsehole to you. If you're nice to me, I'm going to be nice to you. It's the exact same way.
If I play, when I play Topher, if I play shit, he plays shit. It's brilliant. It's he's such a nice guy.
Yeah. But I mean, it's go on, Matt.
One thing I will add to this too is, if you're precise about that, there's going to be things that you get wrong, and you're going to make mistakes. And if you're precise and detailed in what you're doing, if you do something wrong, it's good to get caught on that. It like, nothing's worse than kind of like ambiguously kind of doing things, and then realize when your opponent goes, oh, that's what you've been doing all game. Well, that's not how that works.
And sometimes it's also nice to create a fairer game. So do you know when, like, this happens to me a lot, where someone's trying to advance behind, say, a building, but not so much that they can be seen. Do you know what I mean? When it's kind of like an edging thing. And you just get behind the hunt and go, right, go a bit further, go a bit further, go a bit further, and then you can see it and go, actually, go a little bit back. Do you know what I mean? To make sure that what they're trying to do is actually happening, so that you can have the fairest game. So you're not going to get fucking caught with your pants down because accidentally you went half a mil too soon, when the intention was clear what you was trying to achieve. And I just think it's such an easy and nicer way of playing, to be like that and be precise and be, generous and offers and kind of say, right, here, be open. Obviously, there is a line, and it's a fine one, and that's one you're going to have to discover yourself as a player. But
upfront precision as well is what we're talking about. Because I've had that before, where they'll move something, they'll not say something, and you'll have your turn and be like, right, now I'm going to shoot them. They're like, oh, it wasn't my intention for them to be there. If you'd told me when you're doing it, I would have gone, yes, no, well, maybe, but we'll say no. It's being upfront with it.
Exactly.
Especially when you get the language barriers as well, because you're working in 3 dimensions of what's happening on the table, plus how you're trying to communicate between the two of you of what's happening.
there's other things like if you're going to recce, don't like touch your vehicle until you've decided where you're going to go, because you can't really wind it back and everything else. It's like, yeah, I'm going to recce. If you say, can I have a moment to work out where I'm going to recce to because I'm going to die, then do it. But I had a couple of times with the Spanish 2 captain, and there was a couple of times where he said, I knew it was a big dice, and he'd be like, can I just take a moment to think about it? And I was like, yeah, he's not being slow played. He's not anything else. He's just asked for a couple of minutes or a minute or so just to think about what he's going to do, because it was a big dice. But yeah, just talk to your opponent, keep it going, which is why you don't have a throat left by the end of it.
Yeah.
And obviously, the next topic is the huge one. Like, I have hugely invested in.
Table cleanliness. I'm with you on this, Owen. This is one of my real bugbears as well. This proper annoys me when people don't do it properly.
Etiquette. Yeah. Don't leave stuff on the corner of the table that doesn't need to be on the corner of the table. If you can help
remove dead models. I hate it when people just take dead models and put them randomly in some random part of the battlefield instead. It's like, but they're still on the table. I still think from looking that they're there, fucking take them off and put them on your tray or something. Take them off the table.
Make sure dead dice can't find their way back into the pack. You know, have something you put them in.
Yeah, how annoying is it when someone rolls a dice and the dice rolls into a set of 10 dice, and then you're like, well, which one was it?
I like the little the little scoreboards that the Spanish team had. Those were super
they were really cool. They were really cool. Nice and clear. Dead dice, turn number. Mwah.
Yeah. I have a little wooden box like lid that we just put the dead dice go in, and it's like, if they're in there, they're dead dice. Nobody picks them up.
Yeah,
just little simple things like that.
I will say though, and I've made this very clear in our guide, is that don't have a dice box, but don't attach it to your hip, because you will look like a paedophile. Don't do it. This has been your final warning. Everyone else in the podcast, in the chat, probably knows I'm talking about Owen here, because he's basically a big paedophile at this point. Yeah. Just keep your dice bag loose like a normal person. Just saying.
I don't know. It does carry a Subway.
It does carry a Subway really well.
Oh, that's...
And that's loo roll in there as well.
Oh, you really actually...
You need to get the same fucking club as Sheffer, you absolute pervert, man. This is absolutely disgusting. Why are you like this? Stop it. Oh, keep your tables clean though, man. Put your dead models in your dead thing. Put your dice back in your dice box. Just make the table clear.
Yeah. Or throw your dice so hard, they don't stay on the table. That's the other thing to do, isn't it?
Fuck it out, yeah. Can I have another slide, please, Spurlie?
Next slide. Think long term. Were you just drinking straight from the bottle there, Topher?
We got to that point in the evening, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, I'll just drink straight from the decanter, shall I? Yes.
Oh. What you got? Is that what's that you got? Is that whiskey?
Yeah, this is Johnny Walker.
Welcome to the Juggernaut Alcoholic Podcast. Glad. Come on, think long term. Alex, you should be able to have a good answer for this.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? I got distracted because I've got a bottle of port downstairs and I really fancy some, but like, there's so many things I'm like, oh no, Toph.
I tell you what,
we're on the same person, man. Lean into it. It's okay.
Alex, you need a wireless headset as well, because if you had a wireless headset, you could go and get your port and still stay in the conversation. It's like, look, I could go. Yeah, I'm gone. I'm gone, but I'm still here.
That's not what he's worried about, Spurlie.
Yeah, wireless headset, mate. Go for it.
We. Thinking long term in terms of the event, I think this was like a result of last year, like team mentality. Poor Matt's team last year were our first matchup, and the talk of last year's was Team England are expected to win their group. It's the easy group. It's not, because Matt's team are pretty good, but we always knew rounds 4, 5, 6. They were going to be dependent on our results of these easy games.
Yeah.
And you can see it in our results this year. We've got this like murder, death, kill thing where England 1 is just we're going to pick up as many points as possible. You might lose your game, whatever. You're thinking outside of just your results of, I lost some of my games, but I knew I was going to take as many dice down with me, and it affects our score and our standings because we got, I think it's 206, 209?
207, I think.
Kill dice, yeah, like highest. Because you're coming up against good teams and you might have the same standings, and it will come down to those secondaries, just like it does at any other singles event. So you always need to be looking forward to how will that affect the score 3 games down the line. Always be pushing. We've noted it in our spreadsheet. A certain Miguel Santos decided to concede a game against a certain player who came first in the individual standings because Mike conceded and gave him all his dice.
And that's why I'm officially number 2, not number 1, number 2 in the world. Because some twat in Miguel Santos gave all of his dice to some shitty American player who didn't deserve it. I'm just taking a piss. I had no disrespect meaning, but that's kind of the thing, right? Like, if you just go, fuck it, concede, you're giving away secondaries that your team may rely on in the future. Yeah. So think big. Think bigger than that. Think bigger than you. Yeah. Think big picture.
Even if it's just like, I'm not enjoying this game, but I reckon I can get one more dice out of it. Just one more dice. Yeah. And just give yourself that small goal of, I'm going to lose, but I'm going to listen to the juggers, get petty, kill an officer, steal his wine. You know, that is a minor victory in itself. And it may count for your teammates later.
And I think the difference between 3rd and 4th came down to tiebreakers as well. I think Denmark and Italy.
I'm just having a look. I was just thinking the same thing.
If you look at where England C, we were in that massive midfield bunch and we topped it on secondaries.
Yeah, so Italy and Denmark was down to secondaries. Italy took it by 17 dice over 6 games.
Because I know that Massey had a conversation with his teammate because when we played Italy in round 5, Ken's, I can't remember Ken's opponent's name, but he conceded on turn 4.
Did Ken play Luca? I think. I'll be able to tell you, actually. I've got it all. Yeah, Ken played Luca.
Yeah, and he got all and the match just went Ken's way. You know, he got a couple multi-launcher hits, a couple good dogmine hits against the Stewarts, and then it just feels... Obviously, like, it's not fun when all your toys have been taken away, but, you know, fortunately for Italy, it didn't end up, you know, hurting them.
Costing them, yeah.
But it could have been, you know, it could have been a scary moment. We were... we had some fun with some of the math because if you guys had beaten Spain in the final round, we were only 1 order dice behind them for secondaries. So if we had been able to come up with 1 more dice, which would have let us beat Spain 3, and you guys had won, we actually could have leapfrogged Spain for second and gotten second place because our tertiaries were.
That's how much it matters, right? That's how close it comes, you know.
Funny I've just got to say, funny that Matt Ranks brings up tertiary scores because that was most tank and officer kills, and somebody got 15 over the weekend, which was the top of the list. Anybody want to guess who that was?
I have no idea.
That was Mr. Matt Ranks. So
he
was the best tertiary scorer over the weekend with 15 kills, so averaging 2.5 a game.
Yeah, it was a lot. My first multi-launch was out in the last round. He had put his 2 inexperienced lieutenants behind a building. I fired my multi-launcher at the building, missed the first officer, hit the second one, but he was close enough to the first one that the template fit over both of them, and I got that.
And I'll link this into the second point on this page, which is be savage and be decisive. Take those opportunities, right? If you see an opponent who's just accidentally left his officer somewhere where he's in the open, kill him. Take the shot.
My last game, I was very mean to my opponent in terms of being savage. I was relentless. and didn't give up. And the poor guy did not. Bless him, he was doing his bit, but got to the end of it, and he did not want the 7th turn, put it that way. He had enough. And
in a normal event, it might sound cruel to kick someone while they're down, but like when it's at this level, you need the points, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need those points. Take them while they are there. When the opportunity arises, take them, because you don't know when you might regret not taking them in the future.
I think I took 13 or 14 dice off him in 3 turns, something daft like that.
You're an arsehole, Owen. Don't do it.
What was the term, Owen? Clippity-clop, motherfucker.
Clippity-clop, motherfucker. Yeah. It's like, it was the first time I got to use both squads of Italian cavalry got into his Inex back line, and it was, as the phrase goes, clippity-clop, motherfucker, because one unit of cav took 5 dice in 3 turns. And the only reason it didn't take any more is because there was nothing left for it to kill.
Yeah. Next slide, Mr. Spurlie.
Next slide.
Next slide.
The opposite to 18 inches. Yeah.
There we
1
go.
inch. Yeah.
Here we go. The title of this page. She's lying to you. 1 inch matters.
Definitely.
Absolutely. 1 inch matters. That 1 inch rule for bolt action, no unit may go within 1 inch of another unit unless they're charging, is catastrophically important. Learn it. I can't make it any clearer than that.
Not just learn it. You've got to read every little interaction and offshoot of it, because you've got like the charging bit, like you've just said. If you charge, you can go within 1 inch, but you can't go within 1 inch of somebody else to get to where you're trying to charge to. So it's just the whole point of it is just so that you can be base to base with whoever it is you're charging.
And the firing, people will hold you to the 1 inch can't fire within 1 inch. I mean, this is. Right, I would argue particularly when it comes to your own units, this is probably that club rule that people ignore or forget or get lax about. They just stick their person next to their tank or whatever, partly because it's thematic. They're hiding behind it or whatever. No. It will be, the 1 inch rule will be played absolute at an event like this. You just have to play it. You have to learn to play it.
I also put this picture on this slide on purpose, right? So if you look at the wall, you can see that there's that gap in the wall. If you put a single model in that gap, that bamboo squad hiding behind it suddenly can't get through unless they charge that model, right? Because then they would pass within 1 inch of that model. In which case, that would mean that they would have to walk around the wall to charge you, which suddenly means you're getting defensive positions, right? Suddenly, the placement of one model and the utilization of the 1 inch rule can affect combats. Like, I can't quite convey how important this is, that you understand blocking and the 1 inch rule, because if you don't use it against people, they will use it against you. And it is a key part of bolt action, which is, here's my unit, there's the 1 inch rule, fuck off.
It actually became massive when I was playing Alistair. He had a bamboo unit that I'd got down to 4 guys, but they'd turned regular. And I had a guerrilla cell that were veterans, but he'd got them down to like 6 guys, and they had a load of pins. But I'd taken from the middle of the unit, so they looked like there was a bit of a gap, and he wanted to charge through them to get to my Inex officer and my regular mule on the other side. And I knew that was it. If he could get them, like he's wiping me out. But he couldn't pass between my unit because there was like an 1 3/4 inch gap, and it looked like a gap he could go through. And when I said, no, you can't fit through there, he realised he'd have to go all the way around his own tank and my unit, and he couldn't make the charge. And it became such a massive thing that he'd planned ahead, I'll just charge through that gap. And then when we looked at it, it just shut him down.
When I played US1, I believe I played Felix, shout out Felix, and I managed to keep him off the objective on the last game by having 2 tanks like this. Like just there was a 2 inch gap between them. But guess what? Because of the 1 inch rule, he couldn't walk through that 2 inch gap. He had to go around, which meant he couldn't then charge what was on the objective. Now, that was a bit of a contentious issue. We need to get Spurlie over to make sure we were doing it properly. Fine.
That was where,
that 1 inch rule made what would have been a 4 inch charge a 10 inch charge. That's massive. Massive.
It was because when you follow it through in the rulebook, it's like you can't go within 1 inch. But check the charging stuff, and you check the charging stuff, it's like you can go within 1 inch. And you're like, oh, I can go within 1 inch. And then there's another paragraph that says, but you can't go within 1 inch of another unit to get to another unit that's further away. And it's like, why can't they just make it like flow a bit easier?
Know your rules.
Learn your rules.
Definitely.
Learn your rules. Especially if you're bringing Gurkhas and you plan to charge shit, learn this stuff.
I will say, doing the TO. Oh, yeah, go on, Matt. You go first, Matt. You go first.
Yeah, you're gonna just look at the table and get a much more accurate idea of how the game is going if you understand that rule. You'll just see things better. You'll see like your paths to victory. Like you'll see how your opponent can get you. If you just in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, okay, there's a little 1 inch force field around all these little guys. How is that going to affect, moving, shooting, on all these other factors? It's a big deal.
And
you'll also not catch yourself out.
Yeah, I mean, I use it a lot to protect my recce vehicles from enemy fire. That when even a single enemy officer, when you put an inch either side of it, can make a huge triangle, a dead zone that they can't shoot into.
Yeah.
So I will use that a lot. I will use I will use opponents' infantry, particularly as defense against being shot.
I do the exact same thing with my lancers. I will recce behind enemy units so that the shot is cancelled because he can't fire through his own unit.
Yeah.
Like, it's the 1 inch rule, I think, is one of the most overlooked rules in bolt action because so many people just kind of ignore it or kind of go, that'll do. But at this level of the game, you need to have that down.
Yeah.
Next slide, please, Mr. Spurlie.
Next slide, please.
Next slide. We're on to opponents now. Final topic. The opponents. Though I'm feeling the more we go through this, the less and less it makes sense. But, whatever. Cool.
Yeah.
Beware of your personal biases. I think this is major. How many times have we all looked at lists and gone, that looks shit, and then you play the person and go, shit, man, he knows his shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, Owen, you're I don't know if you're the victim of this. Is the benefit of people of this from people writing you off because you think, it's just shitty Italian list. And then you go and go, yeah, but I know this shit. Do you know what I mean?
I definitely benefited with my list. My list does not make sense unless you know what I'm going to do with it. You're like, what? It just doesn't. There's no infantry for a start. So how can you take objectives? It just doesn't make, except when you realise that everything is mounted on vehicles or cavalry. It's unbelievably mobile, but very fragile. Yeah, it's interesting, but some people like Bone absolutely destroyed me. Massimo absolutely destroyed me. I had a really good game with Joe, but the other three opponents I tore apart. It's one the other. So yeah, you just can't look at lists until someone plays it.
I know Bo's watching right now. It would have been brilliant after Bo had said that your list was the bin list if you'd have smashed him with it. But
that would have been said that you didn't, Owen. To be fair, that was your time to shine, and you've dropped the fucking ball.
Yeah, I blame the fact there was cover on that table.
I blame the fact that as soon as you do your draw, you put it on the Discord channel saying, "Oh my god, I'm playing Bo."
Was you playing on the snowboard?
I was playing on the one with just trees, yeah.
I've made my opinions very clear on that board, sir, so I do not begrudge you for losing that game, is all I will say. We covered that last episode.
Yeah, we did.
But I also want to return the fact, when you go to the WTC and you play against another team, you are playing potentially that country's best players, the top 4 in that country, which means don't look at the list. Obviously look at the list, but ultimately one of that country's top four players is playing with that list. They know what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? If they've taken assault rifles and they're German infantry, and you think, oh, they've overpriced their points, they're shit, mate. No, they'll have done it for a reason. So don't write them off. They will punish you and you look very silly.
Akile is a prime example. Like, how many lists do we look at? We looked at his, and I'm just going to show off here, because he's taken Feldstraff, Gefangen, and Abteilen squads. And you look at them and you go...
Somebody's been on Duolingo, haven't they? Ooh.
Look, I've been playing with them for 9 months. I can pronounce them, and I'll pronounce them in full. But you look at them and you go, just unarmed guys, and they're escorted by a squad of 5 guys that you kill them and they all run off. But Akile has honed his inexperienced squad work. He knows how to use his list. He knows how to use shirkers, things like that. Most people, like, if I showed them the list, they would say, I couldn't use that. But the person who's selected that list and taken to an event, just assume that they know it like the back of their hands and they know how to gut you with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Next slide.
Oh, we're on the next slide. You need to keep up, mate. Keep up.
Flow. I can't see it. I'm sorry. Own your list, and we've already kind of spoken about this. So we'll just reiterate it.
I was just like reading through it, and I like how Alex doesn't have a thing from England 1. You know,
not yet. He's kind of
getting
there.
Luke,
He's kind of
and then you
still
bring in
working
Martin
out.
from England 3 with Bring a Big Tank.
What would you? Yeah, but that said, if I say, Alex, what is your style? I don't think you're entirely there yet.
No, I'm still experimenting. Like I've thrown together a list for Not 5 Steps Back that is very much like I want to learn stuff with it. I like charging stuff, but then I also I'm leaning into the shooting, but I like my indirect. So I'm still I still qualify myself as a new player. I don't know what point that's going to stop, but I like to play around with stuff.
I just think we see it so much especially on our Discord when people come in and they go, right, I'm into competitive play. I want to join in. How do I get good? What's the current good stuff? And I immediately think you're doing this the completely wrong way.
Yeah.
You need to work. What do you want to do? And then work out how to make that work. Because if you go and listen to the Juggernaut, you go and watch Bo's videos, you go and watch Tabletop Tommy's, and you hear what the latest good shit is, that's great, but that's not what you do. I need to know what you do so that you can get good at that, because that's yours. And it's so easy to follow a net this kind of perspective and be like, I'm going to follow the cheese. But it's how many times have we gone to tournaments and someone's brought a net list and then they've been destroyed because they don't know how to use it. It's not theirs.
I would never take Gurkhas because I don't know what I'm doing with them. Right. Yeah, that's it.
I'll even go as far to admit I've been running Chinese for, say, the last 9 months. I think their first big showing was back in Britain last year, came 3rd. I don't know how I win games with them. I still look at it and I'm like, sit back. I don't actually charge stuff that often. I've got pistols. I can't shoot very far. But my win-loss ratio with them generally is kind of in the 80% range, which I'll take away as a good point. But I'm still learning that element of the game. Lancers, I feel like I can see how the list works. I can't make it work because maybe I'm not there yet in my playstyle. So,
Lancers are easy. You hide behind a building.
Mate. Easy, mate. Yeah, easy,
hide
mate.
behind a building.
Yeah, easy, mate.
Hide behind a building. You recce. Or you hide behind the building. You hide behind the building. You charge. Done.
Got to play Lancers.
Come to Spurlie for more Juggernaut ball action tips.
Yeah. So if there's one thing I know,
this is
how Toph plays Lancers.
Last time I played Spurlie, he took Mountaineers that could charge through forests, and he stood still the entire game, waiting for me to come to him.
Well, there was no rough ground, was there, on our table? So
you were in woods.
Yeah,
you were literally in woods.
Yeah, I was in the woods. Where would I go from there? Oh, out of the woods into the open ground where you could just mow me down.
I'm not going to mock you too much because you did the maths and let you win the game.
Yeah, I let you win, mate. Let you win, didn't I?
I want to hear Matt's perspective. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, which one are we talking about? Hold on.
You're owning your list.
I mean, play Chappies and Maoris. I think, it's part of the fun for us is like, I want to try something that doesn't get tried and I want to see if it works. And like that, everything kind of plows into itself. Like you want to, it's why you play a lot of events, because not everything's going to be necessarily as important as the WTC in terms of like how many events you play over the course of the year. But if you try Chappies and Maori 3 or 4 times before the event, you're like, all right, I kind of got this figured out. This is fun. And this is something that I know really well that I think clearly over the course of the weekend, my opponents did not understand very well. Like, there's a reason why my tertiary scores are really high. It's because Chappies can kill tanks. They do a really good job of killing tanks. Stewards don't kill tanks, but everyone still plays them. So, it's like, and there's something, I'm super proud of my list. I'm super proud of Corey's list. Like, Corey and I collaborated on that list. And, like, there's, when you have success, and can feed off that, it feels so much better when you've got those personal touches in there and you feel like you've really like played into your own strengths. I don't know. I think that's fundamental to all competitive miniatures games. And like I came from a card game background, and it was the same way. Love your deck, love your army, and it'll take you places.
My Sweden 2 opponent had a Chaffee, and I was more scared of that than most of the Stuarts I came up, because from an anti-tank point of view, I know everyone goes Stuarts, but that's a very, very good tank.
It's a really good tank.
It's a really good tank to put in your list.
And it's fun being able to recce with your tank as a British player. Like, that's something I kind of had forgotten how to do. But you realize how important, just the threat of recce changes so many aspects of how the game's going to unfold.
I think, really understanding, if you've got something with recce in your army, really understanding recce is actually a big deal. Going back to know your army, knowing what you can and can't do with recce. I was doing all sorts of crazy shit with recce. I love it. But that only comes from practice. I'm sure Topher said with the cavalry, you can do all sorts of shenanigans. As long as you end up in more cover or whatever it happens to be, you can close that off to the next charge, next dice. So, yeah.
Next slide. Know your enemy. You're already there. I'm sorry. In reverse, it's probably worth doing a bit of a Google and working out what stuff does.
Yeah.
Body armor, Gurkhas, dual directional steering, cavalry. Learn these units because you're going to play against them. And they ain't going to explain it to you. No one's going to tell you what body armor does. They're just going to assume that you know. And the more that you know in advance, the less you have to ask on the day, the more prepared you are. So read lists. Read army books of armies that you do not know.
Yeah.
Learn this shit. Keep up to date with new books coming out, like the Gewehr Sniper. Like from Italian Case Blue. Every German list is probably going to have one now. You best know what it does.
Yeah.
Do the research.
Ask questions. Like, be curious and be willing to, like, to look stupid and say, I don't know how that works. Explain that to me.
Yeah, because your opponent's just going to go, I've got a Gewehr Sniper. And if you just go, without knowing what that is, you're fucking yourself over. Like, you need to find that information out.
Going back to Achilles had, like, those really hinky infantry units. But he had, when he gave you his list, he had photocopies of the pages printed out with all of their rules in English. So there was never one of those things, he's going to get one over on me because he understands like how these work. No, he gave you all of the information, which I thought was wonderful. Because he didn't have to do that.
I was going to say, that's the key thing. He doesn't have to do that. He just has to make sure he's got a copy of the rules on him at the time. So it's up to you to make sure you know that, especially when all the lists are released a month before the event. That's your time to read through them all and go, shit, what does that do? I don't know what that does. I need to read that now because I might play that. Do you know?
I did the same with the Italian cavalry. I printed off what it does because that's one of those things. It's so unusual and relatively new. that I didn't want to be that guy.
It was scary the amount of people I played who didn't know what Lancers did. They knew that they were scary, but they didn't understand what they actually did.
Yeah.
And it's good that I was nice and like pulled the rules out and explained it and showed it to them, because I don't think a lot of players would necessarily do that unless instructed to, specifically because they were requested. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people go, yeah, I've got Lancers. Yeah, they're good in combat. Cool. But what does that mean?
Yeah.
You need to know that.
Yeah. So obviously you get that with Gurkhas, but we see so many Gurkhas all across the world that people actually experience them. So they'll go, oh, it's probably something similar like that.
Yeah.
And then it's only when Lancers charge you, you go, actually, I'm doing all of this first.
Because, case in point, I had one person who thought, yeah, Lancers have got 2 attacks each. He didn't realise that they were 2 attacks plus Tough Fighter. And that's such a monumentally massive improvement in terms of the amount of damage you can cause. He could be making mistakes, because he'd be like, yeah, I can take that charge. No, he couldn't. No. You don't want to be caught up with a wrong rolling like that, because like I know I learnt the hard way that body armor works in combat, right? How did I learn? Because I charged them with a combat unit, didn't roll enough 6s and lost. You don't want to make that mistake at the WTC. You spent hundreds of pounds to get on the plane to get there. Make that mistake and learn that before you get on a plane.
Yeah.
It goes back to playing events. All of this builds up, and works together. Like,
yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely. Next slide.
Next slide.
I'm intrigued now. I forgot where.
There we go. We're on your peers. Your peers. This slide is basically, don't be scared of people. Don't be intimidated by people. It was quite interesting when I played Felix from the America 1 team, because he basically said to me, if I beat you, I get to say that I've beaten Toph. Because of course, oh, look at me, Toph, Juggernaut, podcaster extraordinaire, celebs, yeah. But if I beat Felix, then no one would give a shit. Right?
Yeah, because he was spot on though, weren't he? He was spot on with it.
He was like, I've got everything to gain and nothing to lose. And he was correct. Absolutely correct. So you need, when you come against people that you have heard of, you need to keep that in mind. I have lost games before in my past. Shock horror. So has Bo. So has Dan. So has Akile. We've all lost games. None of us are undefeatable. Dan might whinge and bitch about him, being, the best player ever. Shut the fuck up. He can lose games. I've seen it happen. I've made it happen, right? So if you come to the WTC, I feel like Matt's about got a point. He's about it. I'll come to you. Keep in mind, these people are human. They will lose games. Don't be intimidated by a freaking name on a card. Go on, Matt. Ruin my story.
No. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say this because I had a similar. I got to play you last year. Felix is an elite player.
He's really good. He's really good. Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah,
he's a good lad. Yeah,
we are very excited about the prospect of him playing for Team USA next year, like officially, and not just filling in. Yeah. He had an absolute magnificent list. He's an elite player, and he's an absolute wonderful human being. Like he's just an awesome guy. I got to spend a lot of time with Felix over the weekend and have stellar marks for him for sure. So
it's worth noting, even the top players, they make mistakes just like anyone else. Our first matchup, we played Spain 5. Pau, it's my second year playing Pau, their captain. Absolutely lovely guy. Like within 5 minutes of getting to the hotel, he was saying hello to me. I caught him on the classic. His 2 mortars were next to each other, and I managed to range in on one of them, and then they're both dead. Game 5, we're playing Spain 1, and I'm playing Alistair with his Japanese, and he makes the same mistake. He puts his 2 mortars next to each other. He hadn't noticed it, and it's only when I ranged in and I clipped both, he went, oh, I didn't think about that. It doesn't matter whether you're in like the country's fun team or a filling in team or top player. People make mistakes. So just watch out for them and don't just be distracted by, I'm going to lose because, they're from the best team.
This is something particularly, I went there, I was like, I'm going to get hammered. And my first game, fortunately, and there are ones where I'm doing it and I'm going, you're making a mistake. And I realised that actually I think I can beat you. And I got such an enormous amount of confidence from it. And that is, again, going all the way back, all the way through, just from playing events in the UK, to recognise that somebody hasn't worked out what I can do and how I'm going to get that objective. They can't see something that you're planning. And knowing that is hugely rewarding. It's like they've not seen the trap I've set. Or they think, funny enough, John was one. There was a thing where they had 4 options, and one of them meant he'd seen the trap I'd set, and he did it. And that was also quite rewarding, because I was like, okay, I'm up against a significant player here, because he spotted it and actually worked out what I was doing. And I think this was particularly an England thing, is I think England's got a pretty deep pool of people, even though you see roughly the same people at events. There are a lot of people playing lots of different lists, and certainly talking to some of the US guys, you don't have quite the same opportunity that we do to go to all of these events all over the country and play lots of different people you don't know with lots of different lists. You know, we are blessed in the UK to have such a competitive scene, and you can play all sorts of people and get all that practice.
We're all super jealous. Like it really is, and we have some tournaments here in New England that are coming up. A bunch of us are traveling to Canada in May for the Canadian Open, I think it's called, and it's about an 8-hour drive for us. So you know what it is. We take our opportunities when we can get them, and we play a lot against each other, and it works itself out. Like if you go into it with an idea that you want to improve, every player you play against, regardless of their individual skill level, is going to teach you something about the game if you're just open to kind of figuring those things out.
Cool. Slide next. Spurlie, can we get to slide? Multi-launchers are everywhere, please. Good sir.
Oh, they've gone there.
We're just going to finish up on a few more specific examples.
A few little morsels of what to expect.
Just little something. There we go. Multi-launchers are everywhere. Get good at dealing with it, because you're going to play against them. Most lists will have to. Get over it. Yeah, they're everywhere. So get used to going down. Get used to deploying against them. Make sure you don't...
They will put anyone in a building.
Yeah, don't put all of your nice tasty units, because they will aim at it and they will shoot it and go, hey, look, 6-inch bubble. Don't whinge about it. Don't moan. Shh, just let it happen. It's just going to happen, man. Just let the multi-launchers touch you.
You know what?
In places that you're not happy.
Occasionally your opponent's going to roll a 6 and hit you. That happens.
Yeah, might happen. Might suck.
What?
Yeah, get over it. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. You know what? It happens.
Don't be wombled. Don't put your spotters in cover.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes it's worth a dice just to move a unit out the way so that you don't have the 6-inch bubble. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's worth sacrificing the movement for one turn to not fuck over your entire army.
It was the first and only time I've ever spent a dice to move move a spotter from my light artillery.
Yeah, be careful.
I was like, hang on a minute, how do I get out of this? Actually, I can just move the spotter more than 6 inches away from the rest of my guys. That's the one and only time I've ever done that. One of the best dice I've ever spent.
Yeah.
I have
also, don't be afraid to go down against multi-launchers. Like, I think you go through phases, like when you first start playing, it's got a multi-launcher and hits everything, you go, well, they're unstoppable. And then you learn to spread out. And then you learn, well, they only ever hit me on a 6. So you go through this phase of, I'll just never go down, because statistically more chances than not. And then, like, I'm definitely at this point, like, practicing with Rich, where is the unit it's going to hit actually need to do anything this turn? If the answer's no, just go down. If it does get that 6, which probably won't happen, you're just going to be like, yeah.
I'm like that with my Lancers. I will happily recce out the way and still be there for next turn, because you've still got to deal with me at some point, right? And a Lancer unit in the bag that's there next turn is more valuable than a unit that's dead this turn, right?
I lost an AB-41 because I didn't recce.
Well, you learned your mistake, hopefully, good sir.
I did. I didn't do that again. It's like, It's better it's alive for turns 2 onwards.
What was you about to say, Matt?
I had first dice of the tournament. My opponent, his die came up first. He fired his multi-launcher at one of my motorcycles, and I recce'd out of line of sight. And it stopped the entire shot.
Love it.
And
good stuff.
The next dice was my multi-launcher, and I killed his multi-launcher. So we didn't have to have that conversation ever again.
I mean, I generally deal with multi-launchers by trying to get to their side of the table. That's probably not ideal, but that's one way of dealing with it. The other one is just get close to one of their units so that they can't hit you without hitting one of their own, and invalidates the shot. Again, it comes down, not the 1-inch rule, but it comes down to can you use opponent's infantry, particularly, as cover.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are everywhere. I've never come across so many. I think the Juggernaut pack, which I really like, degrades them so you don't see so many.
We limit them.
Full fat multi-launchers that's the first event I've been to where I've been up against them constantly. It was a challenge, but weirdly, I enjoy it. I didn't mind it. It's like, no, they're everywhere. You won't enjoy it. I didn't bother me in the end. It's just another challenge. Cool. What else was everywhere?
Next slide, buddy.
Gurkhas.
Gurkhas. Assault troops. We've already kind of dabbled on this with learn your rule shit. Get really fucking good at the assault rules. So if you look at the picture on the slide, can you see the top right one? Can you see the infantry guy, the guy who owns the infantry? Can you see his mistake? Yeah, he has placed his model in such a way that about an eighth of the base is in open ground. As an assault player like me, that is beautiful because I can charge that model and go first because he's left 1/8 of his model out of rough ground. This is the level of shit that people will pull on you. Don't fall for it. Learn the assault rules, and when you think you've read them, read them again. And when you think you've read them, go and actually read the FAQ and then read them again. Yeah. Because you need to know this, because everyone's got Gurkhas, everyone's got bamboo, everyone's got lancers. Get fucking good at it, my friend.
Yeah, it's not. Don't fall for it, because it's not like somebody's gaming the rules because it's perfectly fit. It's don't fall foul of it. Don't leave yourself.
Yeah.
Don't leave yourself in that position where someone can charge you when you're in cover, but you're not in cover.
My lancers live off mistakes made like this. If I see an opponent make a mistake like this, I immediately think, well, that's free dinner, right? That's a free. I can charge in there, go first, wipe the unit out, and then bounce off, and I'm happy. I can tell Gurkha units and people who run Gurkhas and other assault armies will be exactly the same. They see something like that in the top right corner where he's got 1/8 of the base hanging off, they're going to go, ooh, priority times. Don't be that guy.
And that's where you go back to the FAQ.
This is actually the most decisive action in the entire game. It can be. Let's talk about these new Italian squads. 20 shots shooting across the table, long range. They've moved. The unit's in hard cover. You're on 7s. You can put all the shots in the world. That squad will take a pin. It'll be their next turn. You make a mistake against a charging unit, they'll get in. They'll kill you. You won't fight back. The entire squad's gone. And then they'll be there looking for the next target. It is the most devastating.
The amount of games I've won from managing to get chargers off that people didn't think were possible is monumental.
Yeah.
And that includes tournaments at home and tournaments at the WT and games at the WTC where people go, shit, I didn't realise, because they think, oh, I'm behind an obstacle, I'm fine. Compare the two closest models. Is there anything between them, yes or no? That's what matters. And the more people who can understand that, the better that they will do. Go on, Matt.
I also think assaulting happened, I think a lot of players, I don't know if you guys went through this, but when we were first playing bolt action amongst ourselves and as new players, assaulting was kind of a mystery because it doesn't happen nearly as often, because it's really, in the early days when you're learning bolt action, what you want to do is you want to shoot your rifles all the time.
Yeah.
So everyone stays in this weird area where I'm going to move this far and then I'm just going to shoot. And so you don't necessarily early on have the opportunity to learn a lot of those intricacies. And then as I think play elevates and as the players and your opponents get better and better and better, assaulting gets more and more and more and more important. And early on, we're like, I don't know why everyone's losing their mind about Gurkhas. I'm only assaulting like once a game sometimes. But then at the WTC, you're like, every time every match, there's going to be a key assault that I have to, give or receive that's going to matter critically.
We've spoken about this so much at the WTC, whereas like if you've got an objective and a unit in hard cover on that objective going down, and you need to get that objective, you've got like 3 options: flamethrowers, HE, and charging. That's it. So, and that happens a lot of WTC, right? Because players aren't fucking idiots; they know what they're doing. In which case, assaulting for a lot of games is your only option. So you best get freaking good at doing it.
Yeah.
You best get very good at, and they're not just doing it, being able to defend against it, right? So you're not caught out.
Assaulting is also the thing that if you're building an army, it's the cheapest option. Warlord doesn't charge you a lot of points to be good at charging and to be good at close combat. Flamethrowers are expensive. They're 20 points. They're, an extra man in the squad. HE stuff, that's its own unit, its own dice, its own spot in the selector. But like going from a veteran unit to a veteran unit that destroys things in close combat is not very expensive.
It's like an extra point for tough fight, isn't it? It's not. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
My Maori were 1 point to become elite close combat. Gurkhas, it's 1 point. Your Lancers is 2 points.
2 for the horse and then 1 for the stick. Yeah.
So 3 points. It's criminally undercosted for how effective it is.
Mm.
So not
big
only
shout out to the Feldstraff. They're 3 points a model for an unarmed dude, but they come in squads of 15.
Yeah.
Like you could throw them away, but like in that one game that you've got that charge, and you hit that squad attacking first, they're gonna make like absolute points back in gold.
And this is what makes Bamboo so good, right? Because it doesn't matter how shit you are, you're still just rolling pure damage, right? You're still just rolling, I got a 5, I killed a veteran. It doesn't matter the fact that you're a 5-point inexperienced guy who's going to get murdered. Like, what's the deal? If you deal with Gurkha, if you've got a 10-man squad of Gurkhas in a building, how do you deal with it? You send 15 Bamboo. Great, now you've got 8 Gurkhas in a building. How do you do it? Send 15 more Bamboo. Great, now you've got 6 Gurkhas in the building. How do you do it? Send 15 more Bamboo. You just keep throwing shit at them until they die, right? And eventually you'll win. I think bolt action lives and dies by assault. Personally, as a competitive player, that is how you win games, is by assaulting and killing units.
It's certainly how you kill. It's certainly how you kill units.
Yeah.
It's how you get dice.
Yeah. Because a small team down in hard cover, you're hitting them on 7s, mate.
Unless you charge them.
You need unless you charge them.
Italian cavalry, and you can eat 2 of them for breakfast.
Wow.
Not even break sweat.
Yeah.
And that's.
Yeah.
And that's
speaking of small units going down in cover, in hard cover, may I have another slide? Oh, you're already there, Spurlie. You're so well organised.
Kind of the opposite of charging, Dakar. Yeah.
So you're going to see, if you come to the WC, you're going to see so many Dakar tanks. 8+ tanks with more than 50 machine gun shots. You're going to see the Stuart. You're going to see the T-28. You're going to see that Italian one I can't remember the name of. They're going to be everywhere.
If only we had an Italian player.
And 15.2.
Yeah. That's the one.
And the Panzer III as well.
Yeah.
I hope you've got a plan to deal with them, because you're going to see them. Simple as.
Yeah.
And I will just say, do the maths in your head. If they've got 15 shots and they're hit on 7s, they've got a 1 in 36 chance of hitting per shot. Which means if they're firing,
15 shots.
20, 23, 13,
23.
14 shots. Yeah, 23 shots. They're going to get what? 1 on hit on average? Go down in cover. Just saying. Go down, make them hit you on 7s, tank the shots.
Yeah. Do not underestimate the difference. I mean, it goes without saying, but the difference between someone hitting you on 6s and someone hitting you on 7s is game changing.
Massive. Yeah. And a lot of these tanks are 8+. They've all got weak sides. Exploit it. get your autocannons in, your flamethrowers, your lighters, your guns.
Right. I've said about those really. And then this is the one we still don't get, is it?
Snipers.
We don't understand this. Well, no, the weapons, the NX weapons teams.
Do you understand this, Matt? From like an American perspective, why so many people at the WTC will take an NX mortar without a spotter, and will just be like, "Yeah, what? I don't get it. I don't understand."
It's hard. It's like, I mean, it's a greedy play, and you're trying to. It's less about how you feel about inexperienced mortars, and I think more about how you feel about the 25 points that you get to put somewhere else, right? Like, I don't think anyone thinks that inexperienced mortars are like that exciting, but they're really excited about an inexperienced mortar and, you know, something that lets you put, you know, a whole other, like, you know, relevant combat unit into your army, or to upgrade one of your tanks to something else, or to add something somewhere else. I think everyone
it's a point saver rather than it's min-maxing rather than for any other reason.
Everyone wishes they didn't die to a stiff breeze, but also like what you'll see forever when I started playing. I always like basing my medium mortar like on the 60mm base with the 3 little dudes gather around the mortar, like, you know, loading the tube. The other guys like lugging, you know, this thing. And it looks. We base it up and it looks really cool. Our friend Alan Tibbetts was the first person I saw that put his mortar on a 25mm base and the 3 crewmen, and he said, "Okay, I have an inexperienced mortar, but one little boy is peeking out behind a building and everything is out, so he can find a way to always make sure it's in hard cover, and it's a little bit of gamesmanship, and it looks like shit as far as I'm concerned from a modeling standpoint, but that's how you justify it. You say, okay, well, but yeah, it's...
That is the thing, actually. A lot of the inexperienced mortars weren't on one base. They were on that, like, either 3 or 4 bases. So the mortar with one guy and then 2 guys on separate bases. Or everything kind of...
outrageous.
All I can say is I took 2 snipers to the WTC this year, and all my days didn't I have a field day. Dropping dice from opponents with their little NX mortars left, right and centre all weekend. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Be aware of it. If you're feeling particularly vindictive, bring 2 snipers yourself. Enjoy the fun. I say all of this. Next year it will change because that's how metas goes. But currently, I don't understand.
Well, you say metas will change. The inexperienced mortars was last year's meta as well. So
yeah, don't know. Don't get it. It's weird. It's weird. I don't get it.
I guess
I
the
have to
other
replace my artillery.
Yeah. Yeah, the other
I've
thing...
done the same. Mine are all done nicely, all in one base with the person loading and everything else. And I knew that. And I knew that going into it that was suboptimal. But I made the decision I wanted them just to look cool because they're cool, really cool model.
There's nothing more satisfying than with your sniper going freeze to hits. Freeze to kill.
Freeze to kill.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I guess as well,
3 dice.
Your sniper tends to go on the board after the mortar as well.
Yeah.
So,
especially if you took some spotters and you can put the spotters down first when you go, I go with the forward deployer, and then they put all their shit down first, and you can go, and sniper. Oh, I can see your mortar, your MMG, your forward artillery observer. Yeah.
I've put my sniper in reserve before, just so I can bring them onto the board at the
even. That's just weird, man.
Yeah. That's reserve is a word we don't tend to use in the UK.
Yeah.
What? No, we do use it. Did you know that the England team phrase and slogan is "reserves are for pussies"? Yeah, reserves are for pussies.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It is true.
They're for people with hit bags.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Reserves are for nonsense, Owen. Yeah.
Right, I'm into that category as well then.
It's only because Chef has not been on this the podcast for a while. We need to find a new one.
New target.
We need a new target. I'm so sorry. So there we go. Do you want to put us on the final page, Spurlie, for the wrap up?
Yeah.
See you in 2025.
Stockport.
Yeah.
And we can
Stop.
Oh, I guess we can say the date now.
What are you doing with the...
I was going to say, what are you doing?
I'm having a great time. I don't know about you.
Okay, what is it? Last weekend in 2025 in April?
Let me bring it up because it's confirmed
That
date
sounds
now.
right.
Booked in
26, 27.
26th and
There we go.
27th of
There
April.
we go. There we go.
Stockport.
It's not East. When's Easter out next year?
I hope it's not that weekend next year.
Don't know. The main thing though, it's in the UK, so people in England, this is probably your best chance to come to the WTC if you're not as keen to get on an airplane, which I totally understand, financial reasons and all that. So if this might be your year. So
It's the weekend after Easter, just for you.
Yeah, I was looking at it. Yeah.
And as the hosting team, we get the opportunity to bring more teams than anyone else because we get to bring the Gumby team in case there's odd numbers. So this is the call out. If you are interested, please make yourself known. Yeah, make yourself known. Come talk to me. Find me on the Juggernaut page. Find me on Facebook. Come join the Discord. Make yourself known. You have been warned. And hopefully this guide will serve as a kind of shit, do I even want to do that? Kind of thing. And for everyone who's not in England, obviously Matt's here, US included, hopefully there's something in this pack useful to you. Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a newbie, I'll say I had so much fun at the WTC. I had 6 really good games, one way or another. It was a really good weekend with my friends. And I'd gone in there feeling like tired and everything else. I wasn't in a great place on a Friday and everything else. I had a great time. And I think that's all of everything that's been said here. It's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun playing good people at a game that you enjoy.
It was the best event I've been to, full stop. Like, not just the best WTC. It was the best event I've been to.
Thank God Dan is not in this chat.
Yeah. Real bearable.
I think it was all down. It was all down to how I got the information out to the captains on that captain's chat. Without me doing that, you'd have had Dan not shouting because he'd lost his voice. So,
absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you're listening to this or watching this, and you're in the States, John Ross is the team rep for Team USA, and send him a message. And tell them you're interested, and you'll find out everything you need to know about doing it.
So we in England we got some tournaments we're going to. We've got not 5 sets back coming up. We've got we're going to the Welsh Nationals and stuff, and the more English people go to the Welsh Nationals and Wales. I'm not even going to comment on that. Come up and say hi. Come up and talk to me. Yeah, if you're really interested, and you actually want to take competitive place to the next player, the next level. Sorry, let's do it. Let's do it, man.
I think
It's a lot of fun.
There's a whole scene in that sort of Manchester area that I've not really seen around and sort of the events around Leicester and everything else. I think they've got enough going on locally. So there's definitely other people in the UK that haven't been yet.
Well, because
absolutely you should deserve to go.
I've not seen an event up in the Stockport area for bolt action for a while, but then this weekend you have got one going on. You've got the East Manchester Wargamers Extravaganza, which
Da-de-da.
Yeah.
And I will say, for all you Scottish and Welsh listeners, Scotland, where the fuck was you this year? It's in England now. It's only a 4 or 5 hour drive. Get your ass down. Wales, it'd be nice to have a Welsh team made up of Welsh people. Get your shit together. Come join us.
Well, the North Wales
Shots
lads.
fired.
The North Wales lads.
Yeah.
They're interested, aren't they? So
Matt
I've told them.
Matt Talkington, this is to you. Sort your shit out. I want to see you there with a Welsh team too, with all the D-side lads. You've heard it here first.
Call me
Sort your
like
shit out.
call me uneducated, but Torkington isn't the most Welsh name I've ever heard. So
Don't give a shit, man. He lives around D-side. He's Welsh. He's more fucking Welsh than the existing Welsh team. Fuck me, man.
Cool. And that was the Juggernaut PowerPoint presentation.
There we go.
the Juggernaut competitive PowerPoint.
I will upload it on a Google Drive. I'll make a link available in the show notes and the doobly-doo so that people can download it and read it at their own pace.
We'll drop some links for the IPE pages and that for the WTC so that you can find your reps and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to us, man. Be part of the community. Love each other. There you go. Good stuff. And who knows, one day I'll be shaking you down and buying you a drink next year.
Yeah.
That'll be good. Good stuff. Any closing thoughts? No. I feel like I'm doing. No.
Go have fun.
I heard Alex prepared a
Alex has got here we go.
a certain Dan level joke for us all. So I'm sitting here ready with my soundboard. So this better be fucking amazing.
Yeah, this better be good.
Right, so there's a penguin, and he takes his car to the mechanic shop, and the mechanic turns around and says it'll be about an hour or so to check it over and see what the problem is. So whilst he waits, the penguin goes to an ice cream shop, orders a nice big shop, sundae to pass the time. Penguins, I don't know if you know them, they're not very clean eaters, so he ends up covered in melted ice cream. When he's done, he heads back to the shop. The mechanic takes one look at him and says, looks like you blew a seal. No, the penguin insists, it's just ice cream.
Yeah. If only we had we've got a hay bale that could just blow across the screen as well.
You guys want to hear?
Go on, Matt. Go on.
That I wish I would have told at the pub at the WTC. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So there's three little people, and they're sitting around talking with each other. And one of them says, "You know, guys, I was looking at my feet the other day, and I think I might have the smallest feet in the world." And the second one goes, "Geez, I think you're right. We're little guys, but I think I might have the smallest hands in the world." And the third one says, "Guys, I've sort of been embarrassed to talk about this, but I think I might have the smallest penis in the world." And he says, "Well, you know what we should do? We should get a hold of Guinness, and we should see if we could maybe make it into the Guinness Book of World Records." So they call up Guinness, and Guinness is like, "Yeah, we'll send someone down, and we'll take a look at it." So the guy from Guinness shows up, and the first one goes off into the room with him and comes back with a big certificate in his hands. He's like, "Guys, it's official. I have the smallest feet in the world. I'm going to be in the Guinness Book of World Records." And they're like, "Oh, that's wonderful." And the second one comes out, goes in with the guy, and comes out a few minutes later, and he says, "Guys, I've got it." He's holding his tiny little hands. He's holding up the certificate. "I'm going to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. I have the smallest hands in the world." And they're like, "Oh, that's wonderful." So the third guy goes in with the guy from Guinness. A couple minutes go by, and he comes out, and he's just hanging his head. He's all, kind of dejected. And they're like, oh no. What happened? What happened? And the guy just looks up and he says, "Who the fuck is Topher Buckle?"
Yeah,
I've got a classic one. I've got a classic one that could probably end on. It's a bit shorter as well.
That's destroyed me. That's horrible. Fuck you, man.
It's so true, though. It's so true.
That's not what your missus said.
All right, then. What's the difference between a pile of dead babies and a Ferrari?
Go on.
I don't have a Ferrari in my garage. Good night, everybody.